The dreams. The dreams.
I remember my dreams.
The dreams. The dreams. The dreams. The dreams.
So because of all this COVID stuff, he's kind of lost his job as a high school teacher. But because he was really into chemistry and stuff like that, what he started doing is he started selling his own brand of crystal meth. But it comes out this really weird blue color. Like the stuff I normally get, it's kind of like just a standard crystal, like clear white color. But he's now started doing this blue stuff. But I really, really wonder how that's going to go down over the next couple of weeks, especially given how locked down things are. How are people going to buy from him? I don't know. It doesn't seem like a viable source of income.
Yeah, that's quite a story. I gotta admit. Mr. Petrov says FBI open up. Oh man, that's awesome. Shout out to Camel Leopard, the tier 1 sub on a 25-month streak. Wow.
That's huge.
That is a streak right there. That's over 2 years.
That's nearly 3 kids. That's nearly 3 top Clack children.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, nobody should have top Clack children, let's be honest. But if you were to have some, he'd almost have 3.
Yeah. Or he could almost have 3. He doesn't necessarily have to have any, but...
Brian clipping? Yeah. I'll turn my... Really? I'm the same volume I always am. Alright. Let me turn down my volume. Let me know how that is, guys. If that's better, let me know. If it's worse, let me know. Is Jay's audio okay as well? This is part of why we do the pre-show, guys. Much better? Better? Okay, so we're more equal now. Interesting. I think this is the first time in Top Clack history I've ever had to turn myself down. I've always just had my volume bar maxed in OBS. Can't hear Jay now? Well, Jay's not talking.
I was fucking with him, that was why. I was mouthing as I was talking, but I didn't say anything. So I was just winding up.
Freaking Jay, man. This guy eating delicious cookies and trolling me on stream.
Brian was about to put us live, right, as I took a bite into a nice chocolate cookie. I was like, Brian, not now. And then he started to do it as I was starting to have a drink afterwards. It's like, come on, man. Give me a second to eat a cookie.
I mean, people want to watch you eat, Jay. I think that's just the end of it.
No, I'm surprised people wanted to watch me build Lego as well, but they did, and we had a good stream. It was really fun.
Yeah, it seemed to go pretty well. All right.
Yeah,
well,
people
now we got
following along.
Now that we got the audio issues sorted out, do you want to do a little bit of a mail call here while we're doing the pre-show and waiting for people?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to start up and go first?
Yeah. So I got this air. I got this air. It was really nice.
It's some pretty air. Yeah.
It's
It looks
beautiful
cleaner than
air.
all.
It's man, I'm breathing it in, and it's pretty nice. I gotta be honest. But might not be as cool as some of the other things that you've gotten this week. So why don't you tell us what you've been through?
Yeah, so the first thing I got is I needed a numpad for my G80, J80, and I couldn't find the one that was in the group buy, which I think was called the J20 or something like that. So I bought one of the original ones off of Met Market. So it fits the same styling, it's the same size, it's the same profile, it fits right next to the TKL really well. It's just not aluminium. That's the only problem with it. But yeah, it's really nice. It's great condition, very little yellowing. So I'm really happy I got that. I just need to now convert it to USB. So that'll be a project at some point soon. The other thing that I got, which was really cool and exciting this week, is I actually got the Lodestone prototype in. So this is here now. It's a lovely orange. The orange came out way better than we expected. There's some pictures of it up on Instagram and all sorts of stuff, but the base came out really nice as well around here and here. It's really lovely. In fact, that's over on camera. There we go. So yeah, so watch out for the build stream soon. I am still waiting for a couple of parts on that. So I still need the plates. We've got everything else. Got the PCBs. Just need the plates. They have been shipped. Hopefully they'll arrive in the next couple of weeks. And as soon as they arrive, we'll get the build stream done and we'll have the first maglev board on top Clack, which would be interesting. And then the final thing I got through the post was actually something that you guys might recognize. So this is a Profit. Keyboard Profit, and it's one of the original prototype ones. It's got a brass base that's a little bit scuffed, but I wanted to talk about this a little bit because there's a bit of a sad story to it. So for those of you who might remember, we talked about this on TC in August of last year. Amir, who's the guy behind GMK 9s and a few of the keysets as well, this is his board, and he tried to do some infill on the base, which is why the logo kind of looks dirty and all of that kind of stuff. He tried to do some infill, didn't work particularly well. So in August last year, he shipped it to me so I could sandblast it and do the infill for him using my method, which all fine, that sounds great. Only the board never arrived, and I never got it. And then we kind of wrote it off after Christmas again. After it being 4 or 5 months, we wrote it off and we assumed we'd never see it again. And then about 10 days ago, it actually appeared on eBay for sale.
Really?
It just randomly appeared on eBay. So a couple of guys in Pingu's Discord, so Pingu, the guy behind the IDB60, a couple of guys in his Discord, they found it on eBay. They instantly let me and Amir know. We kind of chatted it through. He bought it back off the guy who had it on eBay because he wanted his board back, of course. It was pretty cheap. It was like, I think it was like $70 or something like that when you convert it. So the guy didn't really know what he had. He was just selling it because he wanted to sell it for whatever reason. So he bought it. It was in the UK, and he got it shipped to me. It arrived to me today. Now, sadly, it's taken a bit worse for wear. Some of the switches have lost stems, so there's a cracking on the stems here. It's been ripped off completely, and the board is filthy. It's dirty. It's kind of scuffed and scratched. I'm not sure how well they're going to show up on the small view, but there's kind of like scuffs and scratches and marks all over it. But we have the board back and the GMK keycaps as well. So, yeah, it's just one of those really weird random stories. But Amir's getting his board back. I've got it now. It's filthy, and I feel like I need to clean my hands. It's covered in buggers and all sorts, and yeah, it's not nice. It's grim. And there's also some white stains on the front, which I don't know what they are, but I don't really want to touch it in that area. But it goes to show that some guys looking out for someone else and just randomly spotting an eBay thing can fix things in this community. So it's going to be really nice to get Amir's board back and take it from there. But it is going to need stripping down and Cerakoting, sadly. But luckily in the EU we have Salvan, who will be no doubt coming to the rescue on this one and fixing the board up for Amir in the near future. So yeah, I just wanted to share that story.
Weird story. What a weird story.
Yeah, it's beyond bizarre. It's beyond bizarre. Like we just assumed we'd never see it again. We assumed the past got lost; it'd never be seen again. We have no idea how this guy came to own it in the UK, and then sell it for just a random amount of money.
Did anyone ask that guy how he came upon it?
So we didn't want to risk doing that until after I'd got the board in.
Sure.
So that was the last thing. Interestingly enough, the box that came and got delivered with the board in it had the address that the guy had slapped on top. When I peeled off the layers of labels and tape, the original label that still had my name and address on it was under there. That's the weirdest thing. So he'd actually put a label over the top of the label to go to the same guy, and he never clicked that it was going to the same person. He never realized in his head that he had something in a box that had a person's name on it that he'd acquired somehow, and then he put a label over the top of it to ship it to me again with the same name and address, and that didn't resonate with the guy.
That I don't even know what to say about that.
Yeah. I told you before this. I told you before the show, it was a weird story.
Yeah, I didn't hear about this story before the show. I'm hearing it with you guys for the first time. So that is.
Yeah, I just told Brian I had a story.
That is one of the most interesting stories I've heard in this community. I'll be honest. Wow. Who does that? Who does that?
It wasn't a porch pirate. The parcel never actually showed clearing UK customs. So what we think is that this is something that was just either stolen from the delivery company, either the guy or he's got a friend who works for the delivery company and he might sell packages to friends or something like that. That happens. It's crap, but it happens everywhere around the world. Or it might have been a parcel that just got delivered to the wrong address and it got there somehow by random and then it never got returned. But either way, the original tracking for this board still shows that it's sat in customs, and of course it isn't. And when we spoke to customs in September, October of last year, when it had taken a month to arrive, they confirmed that they didn't have it. So, we have no idea what happened to it in between, other than this guy on eBay had it, and then I've now got it back finally.
That's something.
Yeah.
And as much as I'd like to know more about that, we should probably officially start our show here. So I'm going to roll an intro, and we're going to get right into it, guys.
Cool.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, or good morning, depending on where you are. Welcome to this episode of Top Clack. I am your host, Quakums, always joined, well, not always, but as usual, joined by my co-host, Jay. And we're going to talk about keyboards today, believe it or not. We have a pretty
really?
Yeah, I know.
You never told me that.
Well, I know. Well, you can leave if you need to, but...
All right, I can see you guys.
All right, take care. And good stream, everyone. It was a good time. But yeah, so we do have a pretty healthy news doc today. It was a little strange to sort through it this week just because April Fool's Day was yesterday. So if some of the topics seem a little strange, just know I really did my best to try to sort through them, filter out all the ones that were like very obviously jokes, and only kept in the ones that maybe could amount to something. Similar to the things we've seen in the past, such as GMK Hemon and GMK Dots, both very successful sets of their own right, started as April Fool's jokes, so we'll find out, I guess. But with that in mind, that's how we're going to proceed with the news doc today, and again, it is pretty healthy. We're going to try to stay pretty short and quick and concise, so we're just going to always try to proceed with that in mind as well, because I know not everyone wants to watch 3.5, and 4 hour long live streams. So we'll try to keep this to a reasonable time. We do have a few announcements, though, before we roll into our news doc. A lot of you maybe have been tuning into some of our build streams lately. We've been doing some keyboard build streams, as usual. I've been doing more than usual as well. And Jay's been doing some non-keyboard content, too, such as Lego streams, as well as the, Nixie clock that you built just a few days ago as well. So we're trying to branch out just a little bit and give you guys a little bit more content, whether it's keyboard or not, just so people have some things to watch. And during these times, we've also been trying to give out game codes that have mostly been generously given to us by other people. And we're trying to just kind of re-gift them out to others that might be in need in the community, people that may not have very much money during this kind of chaos crisis that's going on right now, people that are kind of quarantined, isolated, locked in their houses. We're encouraging people to stay at home as to not to spread the virus further. So we feel that giving away some free game codes has been helping out a lot. So the last few streams that we've done, we've given out a ton of game codes. I don't think we're going to give out any today on this stream, but we do still have a lot more codes to give away. So just know know that anytime you see a keyboard stream, like a keyboard build, or maybe even a non-keyboard build stream in the upcoming future, all of them will have multiple game codes given away during them. So if you're one of those people out there that maybe you don't have very much money and you're stuck at home, but you have something that you can game on, a PC or something, we have a lot of games to give out, and hopefully people can stay at home and get some use out of those without having to spend any money. So
yeah, I was doing some adding up. I think we've given away about 40 in total so far, and I think that's less than half of all the game codes we've got. So Brian has a list, I have a list. We're going to merge them together, so we're both working off the same list. And we've got some stunning games left to give away as well. It's not just it's not just the lower kind of unheard of games. There's actually some really big games.
Yeah, I've given away 3 Doom Eternal codes so far between the last 2 streams, which is pretty nuts. That's a very, very recent launch and a very popular one at that. So. There are some big name games that we've given away. So throughout all price ranges and levels of popularity, and it's fun. It's been going really well. So
yeah, we've done things like Fallout 4 has been given away. A couple of the Sniper Elite games. There's been all sorts of stuff that even I've heard of, which means it must be relatively.
Middle Earth, Shadow of War. We have lots and lots and lots of games to still give away. So. We appreciate all the people that have been donating the game codes for us to be able to give them away. Obviously, wouldn't be able to do that without you. So thanks to all of you that have been donating codes. And if you're someone out there that maybe has some codes to spare and you want to donate, help out Top Clack, help out some of these people in need, all you got to do is just send a PM to either myself or Jay, and we'll get that sorted. So easy peasy there. A couple other announcements. We do want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at Mechs on Deck, Chewy and Osiris. They are fantastic people. And today, actually, I think it was yesterday. Yesterday was their first year anniversary. So 1 year, it's going strong for Mechs on Deck. We love the people over there at Mechs on Deck. They're super duper nice guys, and they do great content. So we highly suggest, if you're unfamiliar with Mechs on Deck, you go check them out. Twitch.tv/Mechs on Deck. They also have a YouTube channel, Discord, the whole 9 yards. They're similar to Top Clack in some ways, but they do a lot of things differently, and of course, their personality is a little bit different as well. But they do great content, and we definitely support them for it. That in mind, we do have a bit of a showdown with them coming up on April the 10th. It's actually going to be held on Man of Interest channel, and we're going to be playing Jeopardy. So it's going to be a Top Clack versus Mechs on Deck Jeopardy game show. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Again, it's going to be on April 10th on Man of Interest channel. I think the current time is locked at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So if you want to come see, your boys, myself and Jay, throw down with the Mechs on Deck guys with some keyboard knowledge, we're going to be able to see maybe which one is the keyboard content studio that reigns supreme in knowledge. So that's going to be a pretty good time.
Interesting.
It's not going to be interesting. We're going to completely smack them down. But, it's
I like the confidence.
It's going to be fun regardless. So everyone should definitely talk, spread the word and come watch that when it does go live. Of course, we'll be mentioning it more times as the date approaches. So.
Definitely looking forward to that. Yeah. As someone who'd never seen what Jeopardy was or how it was played, and
Jay had no idea what Jeopardy was until today. No idea.
I knew of it, but we don't have that game over here, so I had no idea how the game was played. And I watched a couple of quick intros to it on YouTube. It didn't seem to be something I could get my head around, in the fact that I have to come up with the question and not the answer. So yeah, we just don't have it over here, 10 Strong. It's not. There isn't a European version, or there isn't a British version of it. So we don't have it. So you can't say come on when we don't.
I don't know. Whether you don't have it over there or not, Alex Trebek is a cultural icon at this point, and the fact that anyone in a place like the UK has never heard of Jeopardy kind of surprises me a little bit. I gotta be honest.
No, I've heard of it, but I've never watched it or seen it or knew how it was played. It wasn't.
Beard and Nut Inc. says even Norway have had Jeopardy, man.
Well, the UK's never had a version that I've seen, so I have never watched it played or anything like that. So. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. We just love giving Jay a hard time. Either way, it's going to be a really fun time, and I think everyone should come out and watch.
Right, though. Talisman says, "I'll know the right answer, but I'll forget to put the question in the answer if that makes sense." So yeah.
Yeah. Hattie Potter actually brings up a great point. He's asking, or a great question rather. Is there a betting pool for charity? So this is completely handled by Man of Interest. It's going to be on his channel. Top Clack is just competing, and Mex on Deck is just competing. So I don't think we really have any say in how everything's going to be handled besides just us competing. But you can certainly bring that up to Man of Interest, and that'd be cool. Like, getting some kind of charity functionality out of the stream is always something I'm behind. So someone should definitely bring that up to him, and maybe he can work something out. But again, at the end of the day, it's going to be all his decision and judgment because it's going to be on his channel. So I don't want to pressure him into doing anything.
Yeah, Tenstorg says pronunciation though. Yes, well, you can't count dialect differences then because that would be unfair.
Yeah, like Gio brings up,
correct
he says so far Huey has not been enforcing the question rule, so you're probably going to be okay.
Right, I'll try and get in the right frame of mind. I want to play it properly anyway, so I'll try and get in the right frame of mind for it. But yeah. I'll just swat up on Jeopardy.
It's serious keyboard time, folks. That's what this is going to be.
Yeah, either that or I'll just get drunk and just like lose it for us.
There has been talk of literally everyone on the stream being drunk during it, so if that's what everyone agrees to, I will certainly follow along with that. So that'll be pretty fun as well. But we'll have to wait and see. Again, April 10th, 6 p.m. Pacific time, and of course we'll give updates before as well. All right, shall we move over to our news doc? Try to get an earlier jump on this since it's pretty healthy today, Jay.
Yeah, let's try and run through. So first up, we have got the new RamaWorks M58 grid keyboard. So this might strike some notes of reminiscence in you from previous grid buys, and a board that ran a few years ago, of which I have one on the wall behind me somewhere. It's very reminiscent of the Xen, but this is kind of like a new take on it. It's the first ortho board, to my knowledge, that we've seen from RamaWorks, and it has a few different options to it. So in terms of this one, you can have a fixed or hot swap PCB, or you can have a solder one, which has a few different options and choice of layout in terms of the bottom row and some other keys as well. It is very much an ortho layout. Pretty much a 50% with an optional, well, not with an optional, but with a kind of macro column on the left-hand side. And it comes in a range of different colors as well. You can get it in Kuro, which is the black. You can get it in Nano, which is kind of like a grayscale kind of color. Milk, which is the white that we've seen from RamaWorks before. And then the Yolk, which is that lovely bright yellow orange, which is a great color as well. So what do you think about this one, Brian? Are you interested in this? Or
Long-time watchers of Top Clack already know that I dislike ortholinear. I just can't seem to grasp typing on it, and when I get close, it starts to feel awkward when I go back to the more standard layouts that I historically have been more used to. But with that said, this just looks so good for so many reasons, man. I really do like pretty much everything that Rama does, and in here there's a lot of intricacies as well. So you can actually, Jay mentioned a lot of the things that you can change versus like the solderable versus hot swap PCB, the colors and whatnot. But it actually goes a little bit deeper than there because there are a little bit of a price difference. So the fixed / hot swap version is $20 more than the solderable PCB. But not only does it come with hot swap, it also comes with SMD RGB. So that's another reason why it's a little bit more expensive there. Of course, designed by Wilba, the PCB is going to feature QMK VIA as well as USB-C. So we can get all the new goodies there, and yeah, this is pretty interesting. So the colors are kind of strange as well. A lot of variety in not only the colors, but the price range too. So this is actually something I've been noticing that Rama has been doing more lately, where he tries to give a price range for the colors as well. So the Kuro is actually is going to be bead blasted anodized aluminum, and that's why that is the cheapest version at $280. So moving up $40, you can get the powder coated nano version, which is a pretty nice gray. And if you're more of a fan of electrophoresis, that's a little bit more expensive at $20 more than the powder coat and $60 more than the anodized version. And that's both the milk and the yolk are going to be that electrophoresis coating. So you have your kind of option. You have 3 options of finishes between 4 colors and also 3 price range options. So it's kind of interesting that that he's opting for this route, but it's kind of nice when you think about it because it kind of gives people with maybe less of a budget some slightly cheaper options. Because you can get the solderable PCB and the anodized Kuro black color starting at only $280, and as we know, $280 for a custom kit like this really not
cheap.
that bad when you think about it. So. I kind of like the way he's going with this, and I'm glad that we finally have somewhere to put these delicious grid keycaps that he came out with not that long ago. It was kind of interesting to me that he launched the Keyset, but we didn't really know that this board was coming. I mean, you could probably surmise it because of the launch of the keycaps, but for a while we kind of just had these ortholinear Rama keycaps with no Rama product to put them on. So I think it's probably... it's good that he did something sooner rather than later. But again, as you can tell here, 4x12 layout, which is the same as the Planck, but it does have that extra column over here with the 4 keys, or artisan holder if that's more your thing. The housing is aluminum. It's going to use a 6-degree angle. I already talked about all the features of the PCB, and just like a lot of the more recent RamaWorks projects, this one is going to be using the Torx fasteners. And it's also, I don't know if it's just the hot swap version or not, but it's going to come with the Rama switch puller as well. So that's a nice touch.
Yeah, so lots of good things going on there. It's worthwhile saying as well that if you do pick up a set of the grid keycaps with this, there's 2 different versions. There's version A, which is kind of like the solid colors, the opaque keycaps, and then there's also set B, which is the kind of translucent keycaps as well, which come in various different colors. So there's all sorts of different colors you can pick on there, but it's definitely worthwhile checking those out. And I have to say, those red keycaps on that black board in that one render, they look pretty damn good. It looks actually really tasty like that. Personally, I'm a fan of the old Accent. I have one on the wall. I think it's great. I love those kind of thick bezels, and I think the colours here really suit that as well. Interesting to note as well that RAM is also carrying along the belief of having different tops and bottom colours for the different kind of makeup. So the Kuro has both top and bottom piece anodized black. However, when you look at the Nano, the Milk, and the Yoke, they have a different coloured top piece with a different coloured base. So very interesting on that front as well, and I think we'll start to see more and more people pick that up. I've been doing that with the Lodestone, and a few other people have been doing it with other designs as well, so I think that's going to become a little bit more of a trend, certainly in 2020.
Yeah, it feels like it gives the designer a little bit more control, like, hey, this is what I believe are the color choices you should be using. Here is what you can choose from. And I'm okay with that approach, especially given Rama's history and lineage with this kind of stuff. We know he has an eye for design. It's what he did for his occupation way before he started RamaWorks, and it's carrying over here in a really nice way. It's also worth pointing out that this is going to use a very interesting plate mount system. So this is actually going to be very similar, at least from what I can tell, to the Thermal, which was also ran not fairly recently, but not too long ago on RamaWorks. So they're going for the leaf spring plate method again, as you can see here. It's, to me, obviously I've never tried this because I haven't tried the Thermal yet, but it kind of looks to be more of like a top mount with a very intricate plate design that is kind of supposed to encourage even flex and pressure as you push down, regardless of which key you're typing on. So in theory, it works pretty well, but I still have yet to try this or the Thermal, so I will reserve judgment and opinion for that. But have you got to play around with this kind of mounting yet?
So I've done some prototyping with my own stuff. We kind of did some bits and pieces of this for some other boards that may or may not be coming later on this year. And it's kind of interesting because it really depends on how you do the cuts. Now, the way that Wilbur does this is very different to the types I've tried. So I haven't tried anything with this. Effectively, what you've got here is between all of the screw points that go around the outside of the plate, you've got a line that's cut relief, and then you've actually got a second row of cuts on the inside which go around the corners, but then have joins to the top bits as well. So it's hard to describe, but it's really easy to show if the plate's there. So you can see on that the diagram that Brian's showing at the minute that you've kind of got the vertical and horizontal cuts that go in line with the screw points, and then you've kind of got a second layer inside that of cuts which offer flexibility in the areas where the ones in between the screws don't. So it should be a really even key feel. It should kind of balance that across the board. It should also do a few things like remove the harshness around a spacebar where you have a mount point opposite the spacebar in a standard top mount, and it always feels really harsh. It should remove things like that as well, in my experience. But I haven't tried this exact way of doing these kind of leaf springs plates.
Yeah, definitely. So this is looking like a pretty interesting project, and starting at the base price of $280, I'm actually pretty interested in one of these. I gotta be honest with you. So
Yeah, Ortho's not for me, so I wouldn't be picking this up. But I do love the look of it. I do love the
yeah.
look of it.
What's interesting is I actually I managed to pick up a set of the grid caps secondhand for a pretty good price a while back, and I still have yet to put them on something. But they look so interesting, and I actually have an orange Prionic, which can be outfitted with the green cap.
Nice.
So that is one of my upcoming build streams. So I'm going to be able to rebuild my Prionic soon, and I'm going to be applying those grid keycaps as well. So I'll be able to give my impressions of those once that build happens. I just got to figure out what switches I'm putting in it.
Yeah, I've got a pack of the grid keycaps which I used on a macro pan. I wasn't a fan personally. I thought that the spherical dish was too deep and the kind of squareness didn't work for me. But I can completely see why a lot of people would like that.
Yeah. So that's pretty awesome. That's going to be running until May 15th, if I recall. Yep, right there, May 15th. And yeah, pretty good stuff. And in true RamaWorks fashion, he does have links to both the grid keycap set as well as the starter kit. So he usually does a starter kit for all of his board projects, which includes the switches that he recommends as well as the stabilizers that he recommends for that project. So here he has decided to go with the Durock screw-in stabilizer if you choose the 2U spacebar option in the layout, as well as 55 Gateron inks. So very, very popular switch these days. Not terribly surprising that he's using it here.
Absolutely. Okay.
All right, let's move on to our next topic. This one's an interest check, and this is by Beaming Robot, and this is for the K, I believe that's how it's supposed to be pronounced,
Yep.
coming this month to monok.co, which I believe is a Singapore/Malaysian company. I believe Beaming Robot is the vendor there. So this is a relatively simple project. Sorry, I'm trying to find some more renders. They don't really have very many renders in here. It's kind of just these 3 pictures. So we don't have a ton of info.
Yeah.
But we do have some. So just starting out, the housing is going to be aluminum. The plate option is going to be aluminum and polycarbonate. It's going to feature HHKB or standard tops, so no wind keyless top from what it looks like. It is going to be a seamless design. The PCB is going to have USB-C and presumably QMK. It is designed by Heinebusch, after all. The standard version color choices are going to be silver and red or silver and navy. So we're kind of seeing a theme throughout the community here lately where, again, just like Rama, people kind of just choosing the combos and being like, here are your choices. So not a whole lot of mixing and matching going on there. There's going to be a special edition as well. It's going to be a silver top as well as a polished stainless steel bottom. And there's going to be no limit to the group buy. And as far as the mounting system goes, it's going to be gasket mount a la the 356 Mini by OTD, which is kind of that ring that goes around the PCB plate assembly and just kind of sits into the case and is somewhat pressure mounted. So that's going to be interesting to see as well. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I think it looks kind of interesting. It has very definite number 2 vibes to me. It reminds me a lot of the keycut boards, especially that red one, and especially the side profile as well. If you look at that the red one there, the kind of side profile where it's got the 2 bevels that meet each other at a slight angle, it definitely feels number 2-esque to me, and that kind of red base definitely sets off that theme too. In terms of the rest of the board, though, it looks like it's a fine design. It looks nice. It looks like it's going to be reasonable to use. I'm kind of interested to see how it all plumbs together. I think it'll be okay. It's not jumping out at me and saying I'm a high-end board or anything like that, but it looks like it's going to be a quality product, especially behind the PCB. We know they're great quality. So I think it'll be okay. It's probably not one for me at the minute with all of the other 60% that are up and coming. So.
Yeah, that's totally fair. So a little bit about the pricing here. Looks like it's going to be about 590 Singapore dollar for the standard version, and I believe I did translate that before the stream. It's about $412 USD. And the much more expensive, rather, special edition with that polished stainless steel bottom is going to be 1,200 Singaporean dollar. So that's going to be about $838 US. For that version. So definitely not cheap, definitely kind of in line with some of the key cold options. So it's going to be interesting to see how this does. I wonder if that stainless steel bottom version will actually sell quite a bit.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, especially given how we are in kind of COVID times at the minute, with people losing their jobs all over the place and things like that. It'll be interesting to see if people do want the extra premiums or if they want no frill boards. I really have no idea how that's going to pan out, like we talked about on our stream a couple of weekends ago. So it'll be interesting to see. I think this will do fine in the community, though. People are going to like it a lot. The design's nice. It's simple. It's clean. It's a good-looking board. I think it'll do just fine. Whether anyone does want that high-end edition, I don't know. I wouldn't like to say.
Yeah,
in this community, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, they say no limits, and I wonder if that is also true for the polished stainless steel version. Because usually when we see special or limited editions like this, they are limited to like 5-10 units most of the time. So, kind of interesting. They might be opting to go for no unit cap on that as well.
Yeah, I'd be interested. We see that the special editions or the higher price ones do have limits on them, but I'd assume that even if there's no limits to this group buy, there's still an MOQ. So I wonder how many that is to make sure it happens.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But with all that said, it is a pretty nice looking board, and like you mentioned, I think it probably will do fairly well.
Right. Yeah, I think it'll do all right. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking through the comments now. I don't see anyone even mention it looks like a number 2. So maybe it's just me that thinks it.
I mean, with this, I mean, we don't have that many renders, so let's be real here. But with that red bottom and the silver case on the,
it's just the way the side profile is.
The side profile, that little tilt, yeah. It might just also be because of that color combo too, because I believe that was like the de facto number 2 color, right? It was silver with a red bottom.
Yeah, yeah, maybe that's skewing my impression a little bit, but it's just that side profile that makes me think of it. But hey, I'm sure it'll do well. Maybe it's just me that thinks that. So yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks different enough, and it's also it's a 60% versus the TKL at that point as well. So you get a little bit more personality, I feel like, or a little bit different personality at the very least. With that in mind, we'll wait until the group buy happens to actually see what goes on here. Anything could change. Never know.
Absolutely.
Quick shout out to Gadgeable, who I haven't seen in forever, who subbed at tier 1 with a heart. Thanks, man. And to Talisman Solutions, who gifted looks like 2 tier 1 subs actually. So thank you so much for that. Appreciate that, my friend.
Oh, nice. Thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Heck yes. All right, let's move on to another board that's currently an interest check. This is the Whimsy. It's a 40% keyboard, and it certainly got a lot of personality, and it's quite interesting as well. So just a few specs on here. This is inspired by the UT47.2. By the looks of it, it is going to have an LED screen, an OLED screen rather, and a rotary encoder, as you can see here. I believe at the beginning of this project, it might have been intended to handwire, but it looks like they are going for a PCB route this time, which is cool. So it's going to it looks like it's going to be a QMK PCB that supports a couple bottom row options. So this is just one of them, but I do believe there is going to be a split spacebar option as well. And
yes.
So the PCB might also feature hot swap. As far as plate options are concerned, he's still kind of toying with materials. He doesn't know what he wants to settle on yet. It could be brass, it could be aluminum, it could be polycarbonate, and it could be Delrin, which is effectively palm, as far as I'm aware. And so it could be one or all of those, or anywhere in between. And it looks like there's going to be a few case options as well. So it looks like he's going to be focusing on the primary, more high profile premium option of this particular version, but it looks like there are going to be 3D files, 3D printed files, rather, if you want to print your own out of plastic, of course, and Clavier, rather, is going to be designing an acrylic version as well. So Clavier in the community, well known for his layered acrylic cases and other acrylic projects, so that's pretty awesome to see him chime in for this one as well. So you're going to have a lot of different case options, presumably at very different price points. So that's going to be interesting as well. Is at least, at the very least, on this more premium option, it's going to be O-ring gasket mount as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how this Tungsten feels. I mean, first of all, I like the rotary encoder in that position. The OLED displays, I think we've got one here actually. We've seen these types of OLED displays on things like the Kyria and all sorts of other kind of split boards and small form factor boards. So I think that's kind of known technology. Having the knob there is good as well. Now, I know that you talked a second ago about it being high profile as a board, but to me, when I look at this, because of the gap around all of the edges, I'm not quite sure I like that. I mean, those are some huge gaps, and you can see under the keycaps. That's one thing I don't like. I would like to see it a bit closer knit to the actual board itself and to the keycaps, because there's a huge gap around there.
When I said high profile, it was one of those times on the live stream where you say something but you actually mean something else. So I meant this is the most premium offering out of all the ones that are being offered.
Okay,
like
cool.
The aluminum version versus the acrylic or 3D printed versions. With that said, I did actually have a chat with him before the stream just so I could try to poke out a few more of the details of this. But it is possible that this could be changed to be a high-profile design. This is still an interest check, so all feedback is welcome, and he's definitely welcoming it, and he wants people to chime in. So if that's something that people would like to see and they're interested in this project, let him know. Let him know.
Yeah. It'll be interesting as well, as it's his first project, to see how he's going to go ahead and approach manufacturing and stuff like that as well. So be interesting one to watch. I think the layout looks great though. The big seller for me on this is the layout and the compatibility that it's got, especially the option to split the bottom row up. I think that's really, really useful, especially on this size of board. That arrow placement on the right hand side really works for me on 40%. So
yeah, definitely. All right, so that's looking pretty interesting. We don't really have a price point yet for any of the versions, so we'll have to wait and see. But the rest of this interest check, pretty well laid out. Lots of nice renders too. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. I totally agree on the gaps, though. I would prefer a higher profile design, but at the same time, I can kind of get why he designed it like this. I think he really does kind of want to show off a lot of these edges and the kind of acrylic beneath the caps. So I kind of get it. I do think it's a design choice, but I would agree that it's probably one that the community doesn't like as much as just having a simple high-profile design. But with that said, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, big props for another UK designer as well.
Yeah, Jay always shouts them out, never forgets.
Well, gotta support the UK.
You gotta support your own. You gotta support your own. I totally agree. Once again, shout out to Talisman Solutions for gifting another Tier 1 sub. Thank you very much, sir.
Talisman, thank you.
What a wild guy. What a wild guy. All right, cool. So we'll have to wait and see on more information for that. I imagine the group buy shouldn't be too far out, since he does have a lot of the details already finalized. And from what it sounded like before the stream, it's like he's already done working on the PCB as well. So the V1's already done.
Yeah, he has pictures of the PCB and the development and the design and stuff on his Instagram, which is kind of interesting. It's good to see that kind of progress. Just need to see how he's going to go against the case. One thing I do dislike on the case is kind of like the curve on the rear. I'm not a fan of that because it doesn't have a true trajectory in the curve. It's kind of like got multiple what's the word I'm looking for? Radiuses. There's kind of like multiple radii circles kind of aligned to make that curve. I'm not a fan of that. And then it kind of flattens off in the middle. Not a fan of that part. I think if it had a true curve to it, it would be better. But then, of course, people are just going to compare it to the Bauer. So
that's fair too. I mean, that's one of the defining features of the Bauer, and for good reason. It looks amazing. So it would kind of suck if he might clone that just for the sake of the Bauer being awesome. But I doubt that would happen to begin with.
Yeah, I think I'd prefer it if it was almost more square. I think it's just those rounded angles I'm not a fan of.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. So we'll check that out again once it hits the group buy phase, of course. Let's move over to some key sets, of which there are many this week.
Should we do lightning rounds? Should we try and be quick through these?
We should.
I feel like that should be.
We should try to be quick through this, yeah. And again, just like I mentioned before we started the news doc today, yesterday was April Fool's. A lot of key sets were posted on April Fool's. That doesn't mean all of them are jokes and memes, but that does mean some of them certainly could be. With that said, we don't believe this is one of them because he has been teasing this set since 2019. So even though it was posted on April Fool's, as you can see there, at least in my area, since it defaults to that, this is apparently not a joke and should actually be coming. With that said, this is going to be a really insane and intense key set if it does happen. GMK Redacted, guys. So this is effectively, from what I can tell, kind of themed around kind of a classified, almost top secret kind of government level thing. And it's really interesting. It's really, really interesting. And from what he says from this thread, he has already received samples straight from GMK on how this would work. And effectively how it works is it's a standard ABS double shot key set, and then they pad print the censoring over that on levels. So he's tested one layer of pad printing as well as 2 layers of pad printing, because apparently with 1 layer of pad printing, the actual legend beneath it can shine through a little bit. So he has opted for 2 levels of pad printing. So kind of interesting. He does mention that both he and his wife have tried this out for a while, and they haven't really noticed the difference in normal like rhythmic typing. So that's kind of interesting to know that maybe you won't be able to feel 2 layers of pad printing quite as easily during normal typing, because I think that's something that would generally worry a lot of people, because in theory you can feel pad printing even if it's just 1 layer, but normally you have to kind of look for it. You don't really notice it when you're typing at your normal speeds. So kind of interesting. that he has opted to go for this, but you know, I think a lot of people trust Dixie, and you know, if he says it works out, it's probably fine.
Yeah, there's a couple of really interesting things about this as well, because as we all know, GMK pad printing is among the best out there. I've got sets that have got pad printing on that have been in daily use for a long time, and they show no signs of wearing. But then again, I've got some vintage sets that have got pad printing on, and over the years they do wear, which leads to a kind of interesting phenomenon that over time, these pad printed, whether it's single or double layers, they're going to fade away. The more you use this set, eventually, thereby undoing the kind of the redaction. So it's kind of gonna wear, and it's gonna make the set look more interesting over time as it gets. I think it's a set that's gonna age well physically. In terms of use, that's definitely something I'm interested in seeing how it goes through. Whether that affects it, whether they go the double layering or the single layering, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Do you think the idea of it being able to be rubbed off was part of the design process, or do you think it's just because they have to use pad printing?
Knowing Dixie, it wouldn't surprise me, because if he didn't want it that way, he could have quite easily had double shot molds that kind of did this same effect. Sure, it might have put up the cost of the key set, but you could absolutely do it. You could absolutely create any mold that you wanted to. We've seen from novelties that you can create any shape you'd like. So there's no reason why you couldn't create a series of marks that look like pen that had gone through the keycap and just have it the same color as the legend and just parts of the legend showing through. But of course, that wouldn't have the benefit of wearing off over time. So yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely part of Dixie's design philosophy. I'd be very surprised if it wasn't something he'd considered.
He's a pretty smart guy, so I imagine it probably ran through his head regardless. And to the people that think this is basically just GMK minimal, the colors actually are different. So they're going to be using 2M for the base white, and N9 with the legend, and N9 pad printing. So I believe minimal was CR and WS1, so all the colors different here. It is still a black on white set, but they are different color codes from GMK Minimal.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's just a couple of things I want to call out that are really, really clever about this as well, actually. Because you're covering up some of those key legends, you can actually do more compatibility with less keys. So that's one of the really, really cool parts about this. You can get some really cool stuff. So, for example, if you didn't want to use HHKB backspace, you could just have the same keycap that you would use for example, the backsplash on ANSI, but you can just put the pad printing in different areas to try and cover that up. One of the other things that Dixie hasn't done, but I have suggested to him, which you could do really easily as well, is you could use that to help out the ISO users. So ISO all users, myself included, sometimes complain that we don't get our version of the 2 and 3 keys on the number row. But if you just redacted the symbol across the top of those, you would instantly make it more accessible to those buyers as well, because it wouldn't matter what the legend there was unless they're waiting for it to fade away, which is going to take a long time and a lot of use. So there's actually a lot of functionality that you can create by adding that kind of stuff in. And using those redacted kind of pad prints to try and increase the compatibility of the set as well, which is quite clever when you think about it.
That's incredibly big brain. You're absolutely right. That is crazy. Yeah, because I mean, anyone that doesn't understand what we're talking about, you could effectively use any of these row 1 caps up here. Like, let's say the F5, F6, and F8 there. You could put those, effectively on your num row if you're like an ISO user or whatever, and like. It wouldn't necessarily be improper. It would just be redacted.
Yeah, so a good example of this is he has done it on some of the ISO keys. So if you look at the ISO compatibility keys that he's got here, he's got the ISO enter, which has got some redactions and some not. But then right at the side of that, underneath the little cusp of it, there is the key, which I often say I don't care what legend it has, as long as it's not the same as the row 4 key when you split the left shift. But then if you look at the row 4 split left shift, both that and the key at the side of it, which would be pipe in ISO UK, a key that's not there on ANSI, both of those are redacted. So it doesn't matter if they have the same legend underneath because they're both redacted. So, win-win. I can't see a reason not to have it. It fits the theme and it's really clever.
Is this the smartest GMK set we've ever seen?
If we're not, so there's two sides to that coin, and I'm not going to say which one it is because I don't know which one it is. But either Dixie has looked out on that, or Dixie's been incredibly thoughtful about which way he does it. So you guys can make up your own minds on Dixie's thought process there. But I think he's been very clever with this.
Well, I mean, Dixie has a history of being very critical when it comes to running key sets. A lot of people like to think that he just gets really high sales because he's just good at it or whatever. But like, it's when it comes down to it, like in all honesty, it's the set too. And if the set's not that good, it's not going to sell a lot, regardless of who's running. It doesn't matter if it's Dixie or Novel Keys or even Drop. And we've seen examples of that. But Dixie Mech sets tend to do really well because he's very picky about what he does. So I'd be really surprised if he didn't already think literally all of this through. And we're kind of just going over it again because we're just noticing it for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing that I've suggested to Dixie, he's in chat. Hi, Dixie. I've just seen him post in chat. The only thing I would suggest to him is just the 2 and the 3 keys, just to redact those the symbols at the top, because then that'd fit for all the international users as well. Other than that, I think this is a really, really clever key set, and I really, really think it's going to do well. Just moving on from the base kit as well to the classified kit, which is kind of the novelties kit. There's some really, really good keys in here. Top secret, classified document, sealed, redacted, top secret. There's just some really clever keys in there, and both you and I we're suckers for text novelties, right? We're suckers for
yeah, this is, if I had a must-buy stamp, I'd be putting it on the screen right now. This is a set that I think I probably can't pass up. Base kit, too well thought out, covers so many things. Colors, I love it. Theme, I love it. Classified kit, I don't usually buy things besides base kits. I'd probably have to buy this one, to be honest with you. And I think this is kind of a home run, whether it was intended to be or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really, really enjoying it. And shout out to the 75% board as well, I think, because that looks great with Dixie's little curve on the bottom. I see that there.
Yeah. What board is this? Is this the Schofield?
No, Schofield's a TKL, right?
Schofield's a TKL? Okay.
I think so. I don't know. This is definitely the sequel to the Bauer, or a 75% version of the Bauer, looking at that front edge there. But it is in true Dixie form. It's redacted. But it does say GMK Redacted on a blank name of the board by DM. I'm pretty sure that's Dixie.
All right. Yeah, it's Dixie doing Dixie things. He's a designer. All right. I get you. Making our lives difficult.
It looks like the Dawn. It looks like the Dawn as well. It does, but it's got that curve at the front.
The front curve is a dead giveaway that this has got to be a Dixie Mech project. So, I mean, he says that anyways. Yeah. So, anyways, back to the kits. Aside from those 2 kits, there's only one more, which is this kind of spacebar kit, which he just calls the Bars kit. And that, I mean, that's a pretty good spacebar kit. You can't ask for a whole lot more than that. Since there aren't going to be any accent colors anyway, so it's about as much as you can ask for from that kit. Pretty interesting. I wonder if there's going to be it's not listed here obviously, but I wonder if there's going to be like a desk mat, because I feel like you could get really creative with desk mats for this theme. I feel like
a
lot of things.
You could get very, very creative with it. The other thing as well is you should ship it with a Sharpie Dixie, because that just really fit the theme quite well as well.
Oh man, that'd be fantastic. Fantastic. All right, so I look forward to this one with bated breath. Let's check out another, shall we? Another interest check here. This one from Enjoy. Coincidentally enough, it's for EnjoyPBT. This is EnjoyPBT Spectrum interest check. And this is a very forward theme. It's effectively just a black on white set, but he does kind of force these modifiers. So CMYK, he's a big fan of CMYK, and he kind of wanted to see that in a base kit by the looks of it. So here you go. This is what he came up with. It's a CMYK / black on white set from EnjoyPBT, and it looks pretty interesting. So like we've talked about in the past, using CMYK or RGB modifiers on your cherry profile sets has been a thing for a long time now. It used to be really, really popular back in like 2015, 2016, and now it's kind of seeing more of a resurgence with a lot of the add-on kits that the community's been running lately, and I feel like this is kind of taking it to the next step and just doing effectively what is a CMYK set. And it's kind of reflected here based on this base kit render alone. So as you can see, it used to be more, let me try to find a better picture, sorry. So like this board here on the left, this used to be kind of the default way to go about using CMYK mods. You'd only use it on your row 4 and row 5 keycaps. You would never do anything above that because you never had compatibility for it, really. GMK and EnjoyPBT never really released add-on kits with those particular caps colored, from that I'm aware of at least. But here, you actually can you can go a lot further. And if you don't like that, maybe you do like the more classic look, there is the additive synthesis kit, which kind of makes your row 2 and row 3 modifiers normal colors, quote unquote, as well as all these additional spacebars if that's your thing as well. So interesting take on a set here, and I gotta be honest, I kind of like the CMYK approach on this.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this, and I don't know if you remember, we had an actual GMK CMYK on the show a couple of months ago, and I think this is what that could have been. We said then that it was a great idea and it was a great theme and it could have been implemented better, and I think that this might be that better implementation almost. So there's a couple of things that I just want to call out on this though. First of all, the orange spacebar in the top renders looks really good, but it doesn't feature in any of the kits. So I don't know where that's disappeared to, but it doesn't feature in any of the kits, but it looks really great on that render. So a little bit disappointed in that. And secondly as well, calling it CMYK but then putting purple and orange in the kits just feels a little bit weird because they're not part of the CMYK colors. So just to call those out. But that being said, I do really, really like this. I think this is an absolute must-buy for me, and it kind of reminds me of sets that we had in the past, like GMK 3 Run and stuff like that, which added bright colors to sets and things. You know, it just feels like it's harkening back to that really early stages of the hobby, which was a really good time to be around when people were trying new things and doing new things. In terms of the kit design, base kit looks fine. I think there's a lot of compatibility there for 60%, TKLs, HHKB, all of that kind of stuff, 65%.
ISO users left high and dry completely in this set.
I was just going to say that. Yeah, I was just going to say exactly that. There is no ISO in any of the sets, which is the biggest downside for me. You know, EnjoyPBT is pretty cheap to manufacture and produce. I know this has got a lot of colors in it, and it's going to need a lot of dye subbing and all of that kind of stuff, but I'm confident that they can produce these colors. But it's a real shame that there isn't going to be any ISO support at all for this.
Yeah.
Which means that if I do pick this up, I'm going to be really limited on what boards I can use it on. It's going to have to be on one of my few HHKB boards, or the one TKL I have that doesn't support ISO. So
yeah, Beadlocks in chat brings up a good point as well. No numpad at all, which also cuts Alice support. A lot of people use that 1U00 as their secondary B, and I mean, what would you use here now? You'd have to be forced to basically use an arrow key or one of the colored mods, which would look very out of place. So
you would have no other choice.
Very unfavorable for Alice layout users with this set. Maybe
Alice users.
Maybe that could be something that could be added to the additive kit. Honestly, like just add a second B there or something, like just so they can actually use that. Because with that said, the pricing here is not that bad. The base kit, $89 is going to be the price, and $19 for the add-on additive kit. So you know, maybe a little more expensive than some of the previous EnjoyPBT sets that we found per key. But overall, I think the set does look pretty good, and it's priced well enough. Maybe just a couple small tweaks to just increase that compatibility. Maybe a name change, since like Jay mentioned, some of the colors don't really line up with CMYK. Or not a name change, sorry, but well, he does. He does have CMYK in the title, so you know, it'd be interesting to kind of see this orange color though, because you're right, that spacebar is pretty banging.
Yeah, I mean, it's a standard GMK stock color. So just to talk about the colors he's selected pretty quickly, these are all standard GMK stock colors, but it will be used in ePBT. So they will just effectively match those dye subbed keys to the original GMK colors. So I'm pretty sure that will go fine. You know, that shouldn't cause any issues, and then most likely they'll have the different colored plastics anyway for the main colors that they'll match, and then it'll be the dye sub legends on top. So I don't think it'll be any problems from that perspective, but it's just worthwhile calling that out. And definitely. I think just by the addition of 5 keys in that add-on kit, the additive synthesis kit, you've put 5 keys in there. You give Alice users and you give ISO users a whole lease of new life, really simply.
Yeah, and he charged $5 more for it. And a lot of people are happy.
Yeah, right. At $20, it's a cheap set already anyway. So, a cheap kit, already anyway. So, yeah, I think you can absolutely do that. But I'm a huge fan of this. I think it looks great. Enjoy reached out to me the other day and said that he was doing this and sent me a couple of images, and I was a big fan of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, can't complain. And, I mean, these renders are pretty nice, too. They really do show off the potential of the key set. Just put that orange bar in there, though. I think we need that at this point.
Yeah, it needs an orange space bar, and it needs 4 ISO keys, and it needs an LSB, and that's it.
Yeah, you can't tease the orange space bar and not put it anywhere in the kit. And yeah, I agree. Maybe offering some kind of ISO functionality would be great, and maybe offering that second B. I mean, even that alone is only 1 key, and it wouldn't be that hard to put in the additive kit. So, and I really don't think it'd probably drive up costs that much. So I don't know. That's what I'd like to see, but, you know, it's still an interest check, obviously, so nothing is completely finalized yet, but I like where this is going so far.
Absolutely, yeah. I'll be interested to see how this goes, and I'll probably pick up a set irrespective of what he does or doesn't change on it anyway. So
Sure. All right. Shout out to Cypher Sage, who just subbed using his Twitch Prime benefit. So thank you so much for that.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
love a good sub.
Yeah, love a good Twitch Prime benefit there. Not everyone gets use out of that Twitch Prime sub. You get one for free if you have Amazon Prime. A lot of people don't use it, so appreciate you putting that to work for us there. So let's move on to our next topic. Here's an interest check from Oblotsky for SA Oblivion V2. So a lot of people have been waiting for this one ever since the V1 launched quite a while back. Now that I'm thinking about it. But
a couple of years now.
it has been a couple of years now. But this has finally come back, and a lot of people have been waiting for this. Arguably the best profile for Oblivion, some would say, at least aesthetically, and I would kind of agree with that. But yeah, so there's some backstory here, obviously, about what's going to happen, but we don't really have a ton of info yet. We do have a kit breakdown, and we do know that it's probably going to be running on drop. And in true SA fashion, this is going to feature a ton of kits. So you can pretty much bet, no matter what kind of layout you're using, this you will be covered effectively, because there are just so many kits. And he is keeping true to the variety of the alphas as well. So you have the standard Oblivion alphas, you do still have the Hagoromo alphas, and you also now have the Oblivion ASCII alphas, as well as the Hagoromo ASCII alphas. So lots of choices here, as well as the modifiers. He has all the different ones as well. So whether you're a fan of the Git modifiers, or you want the regular modifiers, or you want the monochrome modifiers. So you have a lot of options with this set. So if you're an SA fan and you like the Oblivion colorway, you're probably not going to want to miss this.
Yeah, and in terms of the kits, there is a lot of kits, as you said, Brian. There's all sorts of different stuff that you can go through. There's multiple different variations of all the alphas, from the standard Oblivion ones, the Hagorama white ones. Then you've also got the ASCII ones as well, in both colors. In terms of modifiers, you can have the Git modifiers or the regular modifiers. Interesting enough, you can cover most layouts on there as well. So if you bought a modifier set and an alpha set, you can cover nearly every board up to a TKL, 65%, 60%, everything in between. The one really interesting thing here is that in none of the kits there is their ISO compatibility. So ISO users completely left out in this whole thing. There is no ISO at all. There is numpads available for all the different colors. There's also assemblies, 40s kits, ergodox kits, alternate function kits, arrows kits, 7U spacebar kits, small spacebar kits, Vim kits, you name it. There is absolutely tons of other stuff there. But there will not be any ISO. Now, interestingly, he does say that he shows a screenshot and says that there's a couple of sets that are still in stock on drop in Yambo's warehouse, or Yambo's closet, whatever it's called these days, which includes the Colvrak sets, a couple of UK sets, and a couple of Norda sets. They didn't all sell out, but there's only a handful of each of those in stock right now. I think there's 6 or 7 out of the hundreds that were made in the previous group buy. I think it. So it doesn't have the sales numbers on there, but it does have those. But yeah, it's interesting. If you're a European user, this set forces you to go to ANSI or try and dig out an older set that ran in round 1.
Sure. And Bug Whisperer in chat now says only 2 of those left. So so you might get high and dry, might get left high and dry on this one. But we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, still an interest check. I think he did say that it's going to be running sometime this summer, so there's still a lot of time for revisions if they want to change anything. It's interesting because isn't Oblotsky an ISO user?
Pass. I'm not sure. I wouldn't like to say either way. I think like Zampamon, he's one of the EU folks that's moved over to ANSI, but I don't know for certain.
Sure.
Either way, it's something to consider. I would like him to reconsider if those sets that are available or kits that are available drop from round 1. If they sell out and they're not available when round 2 drops, I think it'd be sensible to add maybe a cut down version of them, and maybe add them only in one colorway, the white or the grey, not both, something like that. I don't know.
Sure. All right, so we'll have to wait and see. That's pretty much all we know about it at this point. Let's move back over to the GMK side of things. This is an interest check for GMKX by Depleted Vespine. Again, I wasn't 100% sure if this was a joke or not, but lately I've been leaning more towards not. But again, it was posted on April Fool's, so take that how you will. Regardless, let's take a look at the set itself, because boy, is it an interesting one. So similar to the recent run of GMK Dots, this is kind of a similar approach where you take what is effectively the same legend and you use it on every single keycap. And that's kind of another interesting approach that I guess we're starting to see a little bit more of, and he's decided to go with X on this one.
Yeah, there's a couple of interesting things about this. I think actually using the X on all of the keycaps, it kind of harkens back to the theme that he says right at the beginning, where he doesn't want people to touch his keyboard, and the X's are kind of more negative than just having blanks, which might put more people off. That being said, I think the kits are insane, and there is a lot of duplication if you're using the same legends. You don't need half the keys because you can just. It doesn't matter, right? You can get rid of some of the keys because you don't have to have duplicate legends. So there is way too many keys in these kits, and you can absolutely trim them down significantly. So I don't know if those were all added as part of the meme itself, or if they actually are intended to stay if the set runs. In terms of the colors, L9 and U9, classic colors. We know and love those. Everyone has probably tried a set or seen a set of L9 and U9 at some point in the past, whether it be OG keys or one of the 9009 variants and all that kind of stuff as well. So, we'll see how that goes. I appreciate, Joe, there's two different X's. I know there is two different X's, but
there's actually
a lot of...
There's three, I think. There's three.
Yeah.
So there's the
italic ones, yeah.
Yeah, so there's, like, looking at this render, the X for the alpha looks to be like the standard GMK X, basically. Whereas the mods do not look like the standard GMK X, but if you scroll down here, there's a quote-unquote icon 40 kit, 40% kit with those, I don't know, straighter X's, I guess. And then there's a text 40s kit that have, a little bit more abnormal X on that as well. So we're looking at potentially 3 different X's in this kit.
Yeah, there's the icon, the text modifiers kit as well, which has got the italicized X on it as well. So either way, I kind of like the idea behind this. I think having the same legends kind of fun and quirky and all of that, and it fits into the kind of dot theme as you said. That being said, if this is actually going to be serious and run, I think the kits could be completely changed up.
Yeah, a lot could change here. Yeah, a lot could change here.
You could significantly simplify those.
If this set ran like this with this many kits, it would fail so hard. So hard. All those kits would fail at the very least.
Yeah. Just reading through the rest of the interest rate thread as well, there was a ton of Q&As at the bottom. I didn't have time to go through all of them. I did read some of them. Some of them seemed kind of fun and quirky and jokey.
Yeah.
Others kind of seemed more serious and trying to add certain things.
This particular one made me chuckle. The any UK ISO avail, and he says, actually, the English UK national layout is fully supported. Just replace the Salvin alphas on the left side of the following diagram with the 7 alphas on the right side, and it's literally the same keys. It's just
same
mirrored.
keys, yeah.
So there's a lot of joking / memeing kind of aspect to this thread. So obviously, because of that and it being posted on April 1st, I wasn't 100% sure it was a serious set, but some people are claiming it is going to be serious. I don't know what to believe, but best be safe to check it out anyways, just because an insane amount of effort was actually put into this thread. Like, this IC thread is actually kind of insane. So there's a lot of effort that went into it, and at the very least we could show off that effort because it's probably worth it.
Yeah, irrespective of anything else that happens, I do hope that the ISO novelty enter does get made. That is further down in the Q&A sections, and that's basically just got a stop sign right in the middle of an ISO keycap. I do like that. I would buy that as a novelty keycap for any of my OG sets and things like that. So if anything gets made from this, I hope that's the thing that gets made.
Sure. So we'll have to wait and see on this. Of course, once it does go to group buy, assuming it does, we will check it out once again, just like we normally do. Moving on to the next topic, staying in the same GMK theme space here, we have Neon City by Sora no Tenshi. And this is a pretty interesting one as well. So we'll get into some of the issues with this interest check in just a second. But the idea here is kind of something that goes along in just his mind here. So he calls the kind of darker pink plus purple themes Neon Cities effectively. It's kind of just the color sampling in his mind, if you will. And he kind of just wanted to put that onto a keyset, and this is kind of what he came up with. And how do you feel about this colorway?
It doesn't work for me, is my honest view right now. There's a couple of reasons for that. Just to call that as well, there's a couple of things in the top of the interest track as well that he talks about. So he has picked Pantone colors for this because he didn't have a RAL color sheet. So that might not be the best reason to go for Pantones in my view, but that's fine if that's what he's picked. If this does run, then it'll be up to the vendors to try and get that match. There's 2 different sets. Katakana, which we'll talk about in a second, and then just a standard Legend version as well. The biggest problem for me, though, is in this set isn't the actual alphas or the modifiers. I think they're both reasonably okay on their own right. I was going to say fine, but it's not something that's for me, but I can see why the people would like them. But I don't think that they fit well together. So the colors look off, the modifiers look muted in terms of their legends. There's not enough contrast between the legend and the color of the keycap, whereas the legends on the alphas are really bright and pop because there's a ton of contrast between them. And I think that that's just a kind of really, it's jarring to the eye. The modifiers here remind me very much of Bento's modifiers, which are lovely with the Bento set because it's kind of a muted, well, not muted as such, but it's kind of like a really soft colorway, whereas this is kind of a little bit more harsh. It's neon, it's kind of supposed to be bright. I don't get that impression from those modifiers.
Sure. And I've seen a couple people say it, but I'm not sure if it's just my color blindness playing into this, but is this too close to something like GMK Laser?
I mean, you can see it's got the same kind of inspiration, but Laser's keycaps are blue with pink legends. These are kind of like pinkish purplish keycaps with light blue legends. I think it's different enough.
Okay, so definitely safe from being called a laser copy, is what you're saying.
Well, I don't think it's safe from being called a laser copy. I think people call it that, but I think it's different enough in my head. If I look at this and then look at the set of laser I've got behind me, I think they're different enough personally.
Okay. Yeah, I don't own GMK Laser, and obviously you guys all know that I'm fairly colorblind, so I often like to defer the color judgment over to Jay, who presumably can see colors. So yeah, that's where we're going with that.
Well, no, I'm completely blind in terms of colors, just black and white.
We're actually just blind, and somehow we do this show.
It's a similar theme, I would say, and it's the same kind of idea, but it's no different to like GMK Vaporwave and say Analog Dreams being the same. You know, they're different enough. It's that kind of thing.
Okay, fair enough. Let's take a look at some of the potential problems that this set has. So he does mention 2 kits here. Base kit and Katakana Mono Legends are fixed. Now, so here's a problem with both of those things. This picture, if I'm not mistaken, someone can obviously correct me if I'm wrong, but these are Hiragana sub-legends, right? Not Katakana? And he says he says Katakana Mono Legends, and these are obviously sub-legends. And he also says he doesn't mention anything about a Latin-only alpha kit, but this one is pictured as a full base kit with only Latin alphas.
Yeah.
So where is the Katakana Mono Legends, and what is the actual base kit going to look like? We don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if there's just missing the renders or if he's made a mistake, but I think you're right in terms of the Katakana versus Hiragana. So we'll have to see how that gets updated in due course.
Someone claiming April Fool's joke, but I made sure to check the date before, 30th of March. So even if he was in a time zone way ahead of us, there was like no way he could pretty much be an April Fool's here.
Yeah, it's not an April Fool's as far as I understand it. I mean, I think it'll do reasonably well if this gets to group buy because people like these kind of, vaporwave styles.
Exactly. I mean, look how well Vaporwave did. Look how well Analog Dreams did. Look how incredibly successful Laser did. So it goes without saying that there is a market in our community for these particular kind of, bright, vivid, neon, Vaporwave-esque styled sets. So I agree. I think that whether anything has changed here or not, this set will probably sell reasonably well.
Yeah, most likely. One thing I do like is the desk mat. I think the desk mat's kind of fun. It would fit better with Laser than with this, though, in my head.
This desk mat reminds me. Yeah, this desk mat reminds me so much of the GMK Night Runner desk mat. Obviously, without the yellow or whatever it was, but kind of a similar dystopian like almost Tokyo kind of vibe here.
Yeah, I kind of like the desk mat in some shapes.
It's okay.
I think it's all right.
It's still a little too busy for me, but I can see where they're going with it.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, I'd go for the desk mat, I think, over the Keyset on this one, but I would put it with Laser because I think the desk mat definitely fits Laser better than this Keyset.
Yeah. Do you think this is a better colored set than Laser?
No. And I'm not a massive fan of Laser either, but
okay, because I'm not really a fan
I do
of
like the
either.
whole vaporwave kind of which is interesting because I do kind of like the whole vaporwave kind of thing and the aesthetic and stuff like that. I think, but which is why I do have Laser, but it took me 2 years to open it from when it got delivered. So,
sure. Yeah, interesting. All right, so we'll have to take a look at this once it does enter the group buy phase and see if they have made any changes since then, because this whole kit breakdown doesn't make any sense with the renders he provides. So I want to see the Katakano Mono Legends, and I want to see what the actual base kit's going to be, because we don't know. So we'll have to wait and see. Anyways,
Okay.
moving on, out of the GMK realm for a second, over to an interest check for Infinikey. So this is Infinikey Pastel, and this is from the Key Company, of course, and this is kind of an interesting take. So these are, at least from what I can tell, these are all designed by Mint Lodica of the Key Company, and there are multiple key sets here. Effectively, they're all just two-tone simple key sets. And you're going to have a lot of compatibility, as is true of all previous Infinikey sets. And I think the idea here is just to get something. I don't know if it's supposed to be in stock or if this is going to be a group buy, but get more Infinikey sets, get more simple Infinikey sets out to the public, kind of in the same vein as EnjoyPBT Double Shot ABS is doing right now. If you go to KBDfans, for example, you can kind of just see that they have a handful of random colorways. And I feel like this is kind of the same thing here. So your colorways are going to be Sakura, Peach, Butter, Mint, Sky, and Lavender, and they all follow the same format. They all have the same compatibility by the looks of it. They all have effectively the same keys. So it's kind of going to be one of those things where it's like, hey, do you want a cheap Infinikey set? Okay, pick your color, and then that's going to be it.
Yeah,
So,
these would be great to have in stock as a vendor. Just have the 10 of each of these color lying around at any given time that you can sell, because people always want this kind of stuff. I think this is going to do really well. I don't think it fits the group buy model, though. It fits, for me, just something just to have sat around for people to pick up and run with. Like we talk about those ABS keycaps, that the $24 that TKC carry. It's that kind of thing, but a little bit more upmarket. Something like this.
This is like the more mid-range kind of option, yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that they're doing a rainbow kit as well. I know there's a couple of renders where it's kind of a rainbow kit, or a couple of images where it's kind of got rainbow. So a few of these different pastel colors mixed together to make a rainbow style. It's right at the very bottom. I think that could work really well. And I can see people buying a couple of these to mix together. I think this is definitely one of those things that would work really, really well as an in-stock set.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is one of those things where it's so simple, where it's like either you dislike Infinikey or you don't, and either you dislike the color or you don't.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people that like pastel colors, and there's a lot of people that don't. Some people find them difficult to look at. They find them too soft. They don't like the fact that there's not enough contrast. Other people really like this kind of thing. I mean, look at how well the Hana set's done over the past couple of years with its pastel purples and greens.
Sure.
And, that's always been really popular. And to some extent, some of the GMK sets, like the Vaporwave Alphas, are very pastel in color, apart from the Legends. So I think some people are going to really like this. Some people aren't. It's not going to be for everyone.
It's certainly not going to be for everyone, but it could be for a lot of people.
Yeah, and one thing you can say for these kits is there's a lot of compatibility between the two. If you buy the base kit, the core kit, and the add-on kit, there's a ton of compatibility there. You can pretty much one of the things for these I'd like to see actually is the alpha sold separately as well, because you could buy, say, the butter core kit and add-on kit, and then buy, I don't know, one of the other ones, say the Sky alphas, and you've got two key sets there, because there's so many different modifiers and layouts and things you can support that'd be really useful.
That would be kind of interesting. Yeah. With that said, they do have a disclaimer here that says changes may be made from interest check to group buy. So that would lead me to believe they are planning to do a group buy for this versus the in stock. Again, I agree with Jay. I think this would work better as an in stock item, and I think that that kind of benefits the community overall. But hey, you got to do what you got to do. Regardless, I think we can kind of surmise this pricing will probably be in line with the previous Infinikey offerings, which is around $80 to $90 for a base kit like this, and then the add-on kit will probably be somewhere around $30 or $35, somewhere between $25 and $35 rather. So it's it's not going to be your super high end, like epic tier, everyone's favorite GMK kind of thing. It's going to be a little bit more of a mid range option, but I do think we need more of those in the community too, because it can't just be dominated by GMK forever and always, in my opinion. So I look forward to other keycap manufacturers as well.
Yeah, and to be honest, the Infinikey stuff is looking like it's getting better and better. The new bread keycaps, I've seen some images of those that are about to ship shortly, and they look great. So.
Yeah, the blacks and dark grays that they really, really struggled on in the first run have really started to improve over the more recent runs, rather. So I do think they are headed in the right direction, and if they could just finish off some of these like really minor issues that they have, I think Infinikey could be a really good option, especially given the price point, because not everyone can spend $110 to $150 on a GMK key set, and sometimes people want PBT as well. And EnjoyPBT doesn't always offer every single colorway under the sun, and Infinikey seems to. So
yeah, and the more stuff we've got on the market, the more competition there is, the better. That's always a good thing. Talisman Solutions, thank you very much for gifting a tier 1 sub to Bug Whisper. Thank you, dude. 244 gift subs. That's almost 250. He's almost got to the quarter of 1,000 there. That's a huge number.
Yeah. And 10 Strong says $90 GMK set this month. Yeah, that could be as
Hennessy
well.
And Bellefonte,
yeah. But $90 GMK sets are certainly not common, and they certainly in much less compatibility as well. And also ABS versus PBT. People sometimes have preferences. Sometimes people prefer ABS. Sometimes people prefer PBT. So there's a lot of variables there. I think it's kind of hard to say this is necessarily bad or good. But I do think it's overall in a good direction. Regardless, we'll have to wait and see on this, see how it goes with this group buy. But let's move on to something else. Here we got a group buy for GMK Bushido, finally starting from Beep, very popular and accomplished designer in our community. And this is a set that we talked about a while back when it was an interest check, but now it's actually coming to the group buy phase. And this is a rather interesting take on a GMK set. So I feel like he went for a lot of choices here we don't normally see. The most obviously being the different colored rows. So row 1 and row 2, obviously different color from row 3 and row 4 and row 5. So that's kind of an interesting take as well. How do you feel about Bushido? Because I feel like we were kind of split on it last time.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily have a difference. I have a problem with having different coloured numerals and stuff like that. So some of the old Mateo sets, I don't know if you remember, but like Skull Squadron that had different coloured things, and then DCS Red Alert, for example. I kind of like that. I don't feel like it works for me here. That kind of like slice across, and having the QWERTY and the numero above, and the red row. It doesn't work for me. I'm not a fan of it. But that being said, I do really like the colours. That kind of base colour for these keycaps is really, really nice. That kind of soft grey colour, grey bluish colour. I really, really do like that. So for me, it doesn't work. I would prefer if they were all the white legends rather than all the red, which you can get through the Dishonor kit. So if you don't like that split, you can buy the Dishonor kit as well, which is an Alphas add-on kit, and it replaces all of those with the white legend with the red legend as well. But again, this is, in the eye of the beholder. This is going to be really subjective, and some people are going to like this. I think this will do really well. There's been a lot of sets with these kind of sub-legends that have sold really, really well. People want something different. Beep is a very talented designer. He's done work with Top Clack in the past, and people know his stuff. I think this will do really well in group buy. But it's not for me. I can't imagine liking this on a board personally, even though I do like the kind of theme behind the set.
For me, this picture kind of defines how I feel about this set. At least in this format, it's way too busy. Look at this. You have white accents, you have red accents, and then you have the two different colors from the rows. As well as the two different color sub legends as well. So. I mean, there's so much going on in this set, and to me, that's kind of off-putting, but I could see why a lot of people would like it. I do like that you kind of have the option to make it a little bit more tame, i.e. the Dishonor kit, where you kind of equalizes the coloring between the alphas and the mods. I think that would probably be the route I would take, but again, I would never spend that much money because, obviously that kit's not going to be cheap either, and I don't like buying more than the base kit for most sets, but that's just a personal thing. But I am very interested to see how well this set is going to do. Because there is some potential there. It is a very well thought out set, it's just not for me.
Yeah, I'd agree on the busy thing as well. Some of those keys have got 4 legends on them, with the main legend, the sub legend, and the tertiary legends as well. If you look at the number, there's quite a lot of those: the 3, the 4, all the way up. They've got 4 legends on there.
I never really understood why people do that. Is there a reason?
I'm not sure. To be
honest. That just because that's the way the mold is, and we haven't changed it yet?
Maybe I don't. I honestly don't know the reason for it. It just feels too busy for me personally. And then to have that text novelty enter there on the ISO, on the ANSI key set, it just feels like it's just adding more characters into the space. I think the icon, the picture novelties are better than the text novelties on this one as well. I don't know. It just feels, as you said, too busy. That's a really, really good way of describing it. There's a lot going on. It's quite an assault on the eyes, and I think it's just I prefer key sets like Honeywell, right? They're kind of simple and tame.
I feel like the kind of people that are into sets that are this busy might be the same kind of people that are into stuff like Laser and Vaporwave and the other one that we just checked out, the Neon City. So I don't tend to like those vivid and busy key sets like you. I prefer things like GMK Muted and Honeywell. So definitely not for me, but a lot of work went into this, and I think he did a really good job at staying structured and from everything start to finish. Beep does a fantastic job on pretty much everything he does, so no surprise there.
Yeah. Now, scrolling down, one of the things that is really cool about this is the desk mat. I am absolutely adoring the desk mat design that's further down the interest check. The group by thread. That desk mat is really cool. You know, the whole logo on the right hand side.
That's how you design a desk mat. Yeah. Because
Man, that's cool.
Look, you put your keyboard on the left, and it doesn't cover up any design. How amazing is that? You can actually look at your desk mat and see the design that you paid for. How great is that?
Yeah, some of the cables are pretty cool as well. The Bushido blood cable, which looks like blood spatter all of the cable, looks really good too. So it's nice to see some of those other things out there.
Yeah, and I feel like putting this out now just because this is a good example to use for a lot of people wondering out there. We don't generally cover a lot of the add-ons for key sets anymore because pretty much every key set that runs nowadays now has several artisan collaborations, including a Rama or Salvin cap. They'll have often multiple key set collaborations, multiple desk mats, and it would just take too much time to go through and talk about each aspect of every single set that runs because we'd have to do that, 3, 4, 5 times for each set. And even this week we have like 12 key sets to talk about, so that would take up too much time. But just know that that's kind of why we kind of shy away these days from talking about every single add-on item for every single key set. But with that said, I think the set is pretty well laid out, and I have no doubts that it'll probably do pretty successfully.
Yeah, it's one I'll watch with interest to see how it does sell, but it's definitely not for me. But I definitely want to pick up that desk mat. Definitely want to pick up that. And I kind of like the stabilizers too as well. I know we said we wouldn't talk about all this stuff, but they've got themed stabilizers, and I kind of like them.
They have themed I didn't even see that. I got to be honest with you.
Right down at the very bottom. I
don't know how I missed that. That's crazy.
Themed stabilizers.
There's so many renders in this. Okay. This is certainly going to be one of the new things I would assume because why wouldn't we do this? This is just a thing now that we have colored stabilizers. People are going to recolor them for sets.
Yeah, there's no reason not to.
And you know what? It's a good thing. I mean, what's more matching? People seem to love to match stuff like this, so I have no doubt that those will probably do pretty well as well. All right, Well, let's move on to another key set that's in Group Buy right now. We have quite a few Group Buy key sets this week, of course, since it is the beginning of the month. This one is the Group Buy for GMK Noel, designed by Aguilar. And I gotta be upfront and honest, this might be one of my favorite sets I've ever seen.
Okay, interesting. So I wasn't sold on this. I didn't really like it until Aguilar reached out and said, could he render it on the JO2? And I saw it on the white JO2 and I was like, damn, I really like that. That looks really good there. So I have been converted to liking this set.
Yeah, I did the same thing. When I first saw it, I was like, that's not that interesting. But the more I looked at it, the more I was like, wait a minute. I kind of want this. I don't even understand the theme. The theme is wasted on me too. Celestial Method. I looked it up. It looks like some kind of light novel, video game, anime kind of realm. But I've never actually heard of that, and I have no idea like what it is entirely. So the theme is wasted on me here, and I still like the colors that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of like, as we talked about before, I kind of like sets that are a little bit more softer in colorway. I do kind of like pastel colors as well, time to time.
Yeah,
but I just think that this set works really, really well. And what sets it off for me, it's not when we see it in the renders of the base kit or anything like that. I still look at that base kit render and I think, yeah, it's okay. The compatibility is great. It's a big base kit. It's got stuff for everything with additional kind of accent keys.
Numpad, UK ISO, lots of accents.
ISO,
This is a good base kit.
It's an absolute. If you like a big base kit and you don't want necessarily a cut down one, this covers for everything, including the accent spacebars as well. Then you've got the Hiragana Sub Legends kit, which gives you all the compatibility for that as well, including the additional UK ISO keys that you need as well. So that lots of compatibility there. And then you've got the 40s Ortho spacebar kit, so minimal 40s extension kind of kit. It gives you the Alice B as well. Also gives you some split spacebars as well. It's perfectly adequate. Should cover most users. There's probably some 40s it doesn't cover, but it's not too bad. It's not too terrible. Novelties kit again. I don't know what this relates to, so the novelties don't mean much to me. I do kind of like the idea of having a raw key though, as in like a lion's raw. Yes, that's kind of cool.
I still don't know the context, just like you, Jay, but I actually think this is a really successful novelties kit. This is what I like to see. You get text novelties. It's not overly designed, so it's very easily done via GMK double shot. It doesn't stand out too much, but it still provides that kind of level of novelty accent that you want. This is a really well done novelties kit. It's not overly designed. It's simple enough. It's reasonable. I like that.
Yeah. I wish the unchanged I'd make is because I like that raw text novelty. I'd like an ISO of that, but of course it's in group by now. That's not available. The rest of the novelties kind of don't mean anything to me because I don't know the source material. If you know the source material, they may mean more to you, but that doesn't fit for me.
I didn't know I wanted a roar enter key until today.
Same. I didn't remember seeing that in the interest check.
I didn't know I needed this, but now I have to buy this.
No, not raw as in raw meat Petrov. Raw as in a lion's raw.
Yes, he has that silly British accent, so he can't say words, normally.
I think you'll find it's our language, but hey, not one's point that.
Well, then I want you to say raw.
Which one, raw or raw?
Say exactly. The fact that I understand what we're talking about and you don't is the exact reason.
Maybe. But I do think this set, where it shines into its own, as I say, on that kind of standard background, I'm not massively in love with the set. But as soon as this gets put on a board, I feel like it really transforms the set for me. And especially on the whiteboards, there's a couple of renders in here on whiteboards and stuff like that where it looks really good. And the Polythink 6.5, I think it looks really good on polycarbonate as well.
Yeah,
I'm still not a huge fan of it when it's on a coloured board like the pink and the blue boards, the Sophia. As much as I love that board, I'm not a huge fan of the set on there. But on the whiteboard or a polycarbonate board, man, this thing sings.
Was there
really good on those? Was
there ever a polycarbonate TGR Jane? Because this looks like it's rendered on a TGR Jane that's polycarbonate.
Not as far as I'm aware.
Maybe that's just for rendering purposes. But I don't think I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen one of those before.
Yeah.
Oh, is that not the Jane? I don't know. I saw the TGR logo and it's a TKL, so I kind of assumed Jane. Oh, it's an A17. My apologies then. Okay.
Okay, the stacked acrylic one. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, I don't. I don't think this is stacked acrylic. This looks frosted polycarbonate to me. Maybe I'm wrong. Yeah, maybe I'm stupid. I don't know. Chat's gonna correct me if I'm stupid, so it's fine.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Harry Potter, for standing above with my rhetoric. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, but these renders are fantastic. And let's talk about the desk mats for a second too, because that's like kind of the only other collaboration with this, or add-on item, I suppose. With the
sure.
Set. So there's a pink and a blue one, and just like the last set we checked out with Bushido, I think these desk mats are very successful. Again, you can put your keyboard on the left or like towards the middle, like a lot of people do, and you still don't cover any designs with your keyboard a lot of the time. So I like seeing that. I like seeing more of that. I wish people would design around what you put on your desk mat more often. So yeah, very, very interesting.
Yep. Interestingly, I'm going to have to buy the Keyset now because I did win the Celestial Kipora, which matches this Keyset. So now I have to buy it.
I have to buy the set too. All right. I bought Botanical like the last minute. Legitimately, I think he should have had the sale closed by the time that I bought it because it was like I think it was supposed to end like either March 31st or April 1st, and I bought it either the last few minutes of April 1st or like the first few minutes of April 2nd. Regardless, yeah. So this key set is $135 for that base kit over at Canon Keys. So certainly not one of the cheaper base kits, but when you look at the compatibility that it offers,
kit, yeah.
that price does seem quite reasonable for this level of compatibility. So I don't mind seeing that.
For me, that's great.
Yeah.
For me, that's great because I normally I end up having to buy 2 or 3 kits to get the keys I need. Here, I can just buy the one and I'm done. It's great. Yeah, love that.
Yeah, so this is a must buy, even though I have no idea what the source material is, and to me that's a really cool thing because I never really feel that way about key sets.
Yeah, cool,
awesome.
Okay, moving on then. Next up, we have got what was called Cat Small Cadet. It's now Cat Space Cadet. So for those of you who don't remember, this started out as a Cat version of the Space Cadet key set, based entirely for 40s, and then it kind of grew out of the 40s Discord and grew in massive shape. So Tom in a Box and Alas kind of started this off probably 5-6 months ago now, I think.
It's been a little bit.
Yeah, but it's now grown. Instead of just being a 40% thing, you kind of realize there's a much wider audience for this, and it now even covers up to the Hyper 7 size kit. So it's not just Small Cadet anymore. So the name has changed. So if you've noticed that, it's now Cat Space Cadet, but it does kind of harken back to those old Space Cadet kind of key sets that we've seen in the past. So we've seen the SA version from Desk Authority in the old rounds group buys that used to happen there, famous for emulating the Lisp machines from back in the day, the symbolic Lisp machines. And then we saw the GMK version a little while back. And UB, I know I still owe you a key for that. I have something coming for you that I'm waiting for. I'm really sorry, but you will get the key I'm going to send you for that, and the other gift as well. You did some work for me a while back.
I like that you're apologizing to UB, even though I'm the reason he doesn't have a Space Cadet queue.
Well, yeah, I know you are, but I promised him a replacement key from one of the add-on kits because I've got like 2 of the Norda kits, so I can give him a key that fits in the spot and is the right profile. It doesn't mean he has to take it from his numpad. But he did a few renders for me, and I'm waiting for something to come in. Well, it's actually come in now, or part of it has, but I want to send him like a gift as well. So he's been waiting even longer for that key because I sent it to him once, it didn't get there, and it got returned to me. So anyway, it's a whole thing. Anyway, we digress. Now, jumping back to it. So we've seen the GMK version, and now we're seeing the Cat version. Now, Cat is a great profile, relatively new. We've only seen one set delivered from Cat profile so far, which was Cat Alpha, which is probably about a year ago now. There's a number of kits that are about to ship. I think Milkshake is the first one in the pipeline that's due to ship any day now. I'm really excited for that because I can't wait to get that, get some more Cat in my life. But now this is going to run as well, Cat Space Cadet.
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of Cat. Everyone kind of knows this now. And I'm also a big fan of Space Cadet. It's one of my favorite GMK sets. And I think it'll probably take fairly well here as well. I do think that historically it works better on shinier plastics. So something like SA, for example, maybe aesthetically a little more pleasing for these type of kind of vintage colors at this point. But sure. I think the GMK version turned out quite nice, and I think that this version probably will as well. So I have no doubts there. As you kind of mentioned, it used to be called Small Cadet. It was a little bit more centered for the 40s users, and it still sort of is, but they have extended it to support a lot more than that. And as you can see here, they have the entire kit breakdown with that lovely Hyper 7 kit sitting at the bottom being, by a huge landslide, the most expensive kit in the entire group. And,
yeah, because of the number of keys in it, it's huge.
I'm aware, but if maybe you're not a Hyper 7 aficionado, you can still outfit a lot of your keyboards for pretty low prices. So, great.
Hey, to be fair, you can even outfit a Hyper 7 board for the cost of GMK set, which is unbelievable when you think
that's true. That is indeed true. But I mean, you compare the Alphas kits. These are only $29 for the Alphas kits with let's say you're a 60% user, 65, 60, 75, whatever. You can get the 60s plus mods for only $59. So that's only what, $88, and you can outfit a lot of keyboards for that.
Yeah,
that's what we expect from Cat pricing, and I'm very okay with it. If you're a 40s user, that cost is going to come down a lot too. So the 40s mod's only $44 there. So you save like $15 already, putting you at what, $73 for, an outfit of 40s board. That's pretty reasonable. Pretty reasonable.
It's really interesting, and of course we talked about this before on the show, so I won't cover it again. But cat MOQs work in a different way, so you can have multiple different kits in here that don't have an individual MOQ. It's based on the sheer volume of keys overall, not the individual keys that you're producing. So this is possible to do some really good things with, and that's why they can run so many kits. It's like realistically, the things like the South ISO and the French ISO and the Hyper 7 kits, they're not going to sell great numbers, but they are available for people that do want them. So it's well worth bearing that in mind. And it's definitely something that's going to work for a lot of people, and it allows people to get the keys that they need for their particular colloquial language or whatever they need, or if they just want some fun accents or whatever reason they want for buying these kits. It's a really good opportunity to do them, and the pricing's great. The pricing is so good. So yeah, really impressed with this.
Yeah, absolutely. Syndrome in chat is asking if this is going to be reverse die sub, and I think by default it has to be.
It is
just because you have lighter colors on darker keycaps. That's typically how that works. Cat, we already know Cat is readily and easily available to do reverse die sub nowadays, and I think EnjoyPBT is as well. So that's starting to become a lot more normal in the community for PBT die subbers, whereas it didn't used to be. So yeah, we have a lot more options nowadays because 3 or 4 years ago, what did you have? You had EnjoyPBT, and all the sets were beige. Every single one of them. All EnjoyPBT sets were beige. So,
or black.
Or there was or black.
But Mr. Gentleman one or something, yeah.
Yeah. But nowadays we have a lot more flexibility with our PBT manufacturing and die subbing. So I'm very happy to see this, and I think this project is going to be pretty successful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is going to do really well. And just a little bit of a snippet on the Hyper 7 one as well. Mechboards in the UK is going to be running the Hyper 7 kits for this in the near future. They're about to put up the IC for it, so watch out for that as well. That's the reason why it's included in this, if anyone was wondering, because this actually isn't compatible with the old Hyper 7 kits that I ran a couple of years ago, because they use 2 switches for the 2U keycaps, and this will use 1 switch and a stabilizer. So all of that is changing soon. And then just a big shout out on the desk mats as well, because I do think that the great desk mat for this, with the old kind of finger pointing around, which you saw in some of the old Symbolics key sets originally, I think that was one of the legends for the arrows in the old Symbolics key sets. That desk mat's great as well. Definitely going to pick that up.
Yeah, looks pretty good. Both of them are honestly pretty strong. I like this one as well. So I'm pretty happy about this. I am pretty happy about this. I like that you can outfit so many layouts for well under $100. That's something that makes me very happy, because we've been needing more of that for a long time, and I know we're seeing it more now with Cat. So big thumbs up there. All right, so again, that is in Group Buy right now, and there are all of your vendors, of course. Let's move on to our next topic, which is quite an interesting one, actually. So this is the group buy from, I believe it's Salt Rock Lamp and Luffy. And this is the group buy for DCS Wyse Compatibility 2020. So the kind of overarching idea here is that a lot of people harvest these Wyse boards for vintage blacks. Sometimes they do it for the keycaps. But the keycaps are a very specific layout, and you can't really outfit modern boards with those DCS keycaps, so a lot of people wind up just throwing them away, which is obviously an incredibly big waste for people in our hobby. So the minds behind this have come together to design effectively add-on kits that are supplemental for your DCS vintage Wyse keycaps. So you can buy some of these kits and you can combo them, and then you can actually outfit more modern boards, like shown here. So, that's a huge picture. So that's kind of cool. So now you can actually reuse those Wyse caps without having to throw them away or figuring out what the heck to do with them. Because some people have a lot of these key sets, man. This is a very popular board to harvest from. So we see a lot of those Wyse keycaps circulating around the community, and I can't really find anything bad about this project because of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a ton of the Wyse boards that I've used to get switches out of in the past. In fact, I gave away one that was almost brand new. It was almost new old stock a couple of weeks ago to a guy called Lewis, who sometimes watches. So Lewis, I hope you're finding that board good, and whatever you're doing with the switches and keycaps, I hope you might consider picking this up as well, because I think this is a good idea. I really like this idea. Definitely adds that whole compatibility piece for it. Reuses old sets, all of that kind of stuff.
It's very efficient. Great. It's efficient, and I love that.
Yeah, cheap option to recycle an old keyset. Absolutely, got to love that. Got to applaud that kind of ingenuity. I really like it. This has been something that should have happened a long time ago. So I'm really excited to see that come through. Just a quick point from me. I noticed that originally the kits, so the PC enhanced kit, I think it was, used to have an ISO enter in there, but it's missing from all of the different kits in here. It's not in the ASCII, it's not in the numpad, it's not in the blue accent, it's not in the small form factor kit. But they do say that in the very next point that the ISO enter legend is a bit weird in the output above, but they don't have it anywhere. I've also looked through the different vendors. I can't find it in any of the kits that they've got up there, so I'm not sure if that's just an omission from the renders or if they've actually dropped that ISO compatibility support. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but I assume since the group buy has already started, it would stand to reason that they dropped it intentionally.
Yeah,
I would hope that they had made a decision beforehand. But
I don't see anywhere because they've still got in the group buy thread, which is here. They actually have a picture of the ISO key saying this is what the legend's going to look like. So I really don't know if it's going to be there or not. I'm waiting for my keyboard one to go up and see if it's in there. But if it has been dropped, it needs to be taken out of this kind of.
Okay. Salt Rock Lamp is actually in chat right now, and he says it was dropped, sadly. So unfortunate.
That's sad. That's sad because I've got a ton of these sets. I could have used 2 or 3 of them. That's really sad. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, still some people are going to be able to reuse their Wyse sets, and that's certainly better than nothing because it would suck to just have so many of these Wyse sets just sitting in drawers or in like trash cans. So.
Yeah, and DCS is an underrated profile as well.
It is indeed. So here's your pricing kit breakdown with the MOQ. None of these terribly expensive. $35.50 is the most expensive option for the PC enhanced kit, and of course that's going to be your bottom row and space bars at the highest 75 MOQ out of the lot. So pretty reasonable prices too, depending on what you're kind of aiming for here. But yeah, repurposing old stuff rather, that would otherwise just be sitting in a drawer or a trash can. That's efficient, and I think that's a good thing. And as a community, we should try to keep that mentality in mind for pretty much everything that we do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
I forgot how good looking those Wyse boards are. There's some pictures in there. Man, they're such good looking boards.
It's classic, man. There's a reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm tired of killing them. I need to restore one to use rather than stealing the switches out of them. Yeah.
Salt Rock Lamp does say, if there's sufficient interest, I will consider a separate run for ISO kits. So that could be your answer, Jay. You just get enough ISO homies together, you got it.
Man, yeah. Reach out to me, Salt Rock. I will do what I can to run it. I'd probably buy it out, to be honest.
Put out the call, yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably just buy it out and then
Yeah, or maybe you could run it on Prototypist, that ISO kit alone.
Well, I wouldn't want to do that because my keyboard EU guys.
Oh, true, yeah.
So I wouldn't want to take it away from them. I'd never
That's fair.
Pilfer into that. But hey, if I would happily try and buy something like that out if the costs weren't too great and let them run it and pay me back whenever or something. I don't know, but yeah, just so I could have 5 or 6 of those sets, I'd gladly do it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep. Anyways, let's move on here to the next key set on the dock here. This is the group buy for PBT Graen, or I'd rather this just be titled Infinikey Graen. I think this is kind of a misuse of words, in my opinion. But regardless, PBT Graen from Infinikey, or by Infinikey.
It's pronounced Gran.
I am a silly American that doesn't know how to enunciate in other languages, so I am not going to do that. I am sorry. Sometimes I do it. This is not one of them. Regardless, we did check out the interest check for this, I believe, last week or the week before, and we loved it. We think this colorway does work really well. The interest check was super well laid out, and from Langlandia here, the group buy thread is nothing different. Still super well laid out. He still has one of my favorite jokes I've ever seen in the community, where he's comparing it to key sets that don't even look remotely close to it. Love to see that. You love to see it. And good kit breakdown as well. Infinikey, very simple base kit breakdown. He has the normal core kit here, which is pretty good for almost every user in the community. But if it's not, there's a mega add-on kit here, and of course that comes with novelties and some accents and compatibility for a lot of other things that are a little bit more obscure. And yeah, this is pretty interesting. Base kit pricing $95, not totally out of the realm of believability there, so that's pretty cool. We usually see Infinikey sets around that price point, around $85, $90, $95 for this kind of kitting. Mega add-on kit is only it's $50 on this one, so this one's actually a little bit more expensive than previous ones, but I think this one has more keys because this one actually includes novelties as well by the looks of it. So kits look pretty well thought out here. I'm interested in this one. This is going to be a must-buy for me because you got to support Langlandia. He's the homie. He's a good guy, and the set looks great. Colors look great. What more could you want from it?
Yeah, absolutely. So for those of you who are wondering why I'm being quiet, this is because it's running on Prototypist as well, so I don't want to influence you guys in any way. The only thing I do want to call out is there's been some changes from the interest check to the kits that you see here today. So there's been the addition of a couple of keys into the base kit, including the umbrella keys and a few other bits and pieces as well, so it's been slightly tweaked. So do take a look at those carefully.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, group buy is open now. There are your proxies. Go buy. This is looking pretty darn nice. One of the better desk mats we've seen in a while, too, if I do say so myself. And I'm interested to see how this one will do, because if we're being honest, Infinikey has struggled with sales in the past. They don't always sell very many units. We've seen this with Infinikey Led Zepp recently. I'm interested to see how a set like this, which I think is a little bit more positive in the community's eyes, is going to fare on the Infinikey platform. So I'm looking forward to this. I'm probably going to pick it up. So I don't know. How do you feel about this? Do you think this one's going to be a really high selling set, or do you think this is going to kind of float pretty low, like a lot of the other Infinikey projects?
I'd like it to do well, but you know, I think it's hard to say because there's a lot of stuff going on in the community right now. There's a lot of stuff going on in people's personal lives. So I think the challenges with Infinikey have been the colors we talked about earlier on when we were talking about the pastel versions, and you know, kind of the fact that the dark colors are now getting better. Red looks particularly good, so I think that you know, people are going to see that, and that'll hopefully influence things. But people, you know, it's a difficult time for people to buy right now, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, with that said, we're seeing more things ran than ever before these days. So obviously, there's people buying them at the very least. So we'll have to wait and see. It's kind of interesting, but yeah, I'm not going to force Jay to say anything that might be construed as promotional material, which is why I'm generally talking about this. But yeah, it's looking very, very nice. For me, this is going to be an easy one to pick up. Lots of compatibility in the base kit, not terribly expensive, and I really like the designer. So
yeah,
and it's ran by one of our sponsors. So.
Yeah, I love Chiletta's. It says, when is this running? It starts tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, sorry. It starts tomorrow. It's not currently open, but I think it opens midnight my time. It opens in a handful of hours. If you look tomorrow, it's going to be open. And it'll run, of course, until May 3rd as well. So looking forward to that one. Let's move away from keysets for the last topic of our news doc here, which is a pretty interesting thing that someone in our Discord linked earlier. And this is an interest check for the Tripo B127. I don't know how this is actually supposed to be pronounced, but the thought process here is that this is a spring holder. So this is obviously nothing entirely new to our community. We have seen TX recently when they ship their springs. You can opt for their I forget exactly what they call it, but they opt for their kind of tray, their lubing station, their spring shipping and lubing tray. Kind of shifts you in a tray. All the springs are individual. There's spots for all the springs, and there's spots for like your lube. So it's kind of like a lube station, but just for your springs. But it's also what they kind of ship it in if you opt for that option. And I feel like this is kind of playing in the same vein here. It separates your springs, makes them potentially easier to lube, because I know that's one of the benefits of having the TX lube station is you're supposed to just put them in, drop a dab of lube on it, and it kind of just runs down, coats the spring, you pull it out, it's ready to use after you let it run for a second or whatever. So I don't know if that's the idea here, but at the very least, this is kind of a 3D printed case to store your springs. Seems maybe a little intensive. I don't know how many people are going to separate their springs just to put them in trays like this, but what are your thoughts on it, Jay?
I kind of like the idea. So I tried using the TX ones, and I wasn't a massive fan of them. Right now, the way I lube springs is not not the best. I kind of put them in the switch housing and then go around the outside with the brush and stuff like that. I know a lot of people bag lube these days, and that's fine. It's up to you how you want to lube and stuff. I think I'd find this really useful. In fact, as soon as the stuff that's printing on the 3D printer right now, which if you can hear that, I'm sorry, I'm going to try printing one of these because the files are open and they're available on Thingiverse according to the link. So, I think it's a clever idea, and
certainly,
I think I'm going to give it a try and see how it goes. I'd be really, really interested to see if there would ever be the chance of doing like a machine version of this, because I think that would fit really well. Have a really premium upmarket version, something that you could almost have like a little well of lube in there and just dip your springs around, give it a good shake. It would be bag lubing, but on a much more effective scale, a much more controlled scale as well. So yeah, I'd kind of be down to try that as well.
Yeah, so like Jay mentioned, the files actually are open right now. So if maybe you're into 3D printing, maybe you want someone to print this for you, you have that option. So these are effectively readily available now to anyone that wants to store their springs like this. It seems a little intense for me, but I can see why there would be a lot of people that are into this sort of thing.
Let me ask you a question though. I mean, I know you tub lube your springs, which is
I do.
I'm not judging anyone on how you lube stuff or anything like that. So I don't think that. But
he's making fun of me. Mods. Mods, please.
Mods.
Help.
We don't have mods. What are you on about? So when you lube springs and you tub lube them and you shake the tub, that looks really rude on screen. But you've got the tub and you give it a good old shake. Do the springs not get like caught on each other? Do you not have to kind of separate them?
They do.
Even when I take them out of a bag, I kind of have to lay them all out first before I put them in switches.
They can get caught on each other. Yes, that is absolutely what generally happens. But usually, it's really not that hard to take them apart. At least for me, I actually did this on stream the other day for anyone that watched kind of part one of my Bower rebuild stream, which was effectively just a lube stream. But what I do is I have them right here. I have two sets of tweezers, and I use one in each hand. So I have a 2 tweezer system, and I kind of grab the ends and you can kind of twist, and it might look funky, but it's actually a lot more convenient than it is. But think about this way, because when I get springs in, how are they usually shipped to me? In a bag from Novel Keys or Sprit, whatever. Like whoever you buy springs from, like a lot of the times they come in a bag, and they're not separated individually like this. And I don't know if I'd want to separate them individually myself after I receive them into something like this. Especially, I don't know how this is going to function as a lubing platform, but it would be annoying to me to have to receive springs in a bag, put them individually in here, take them out of here, put them in a tub to lube, and then put them, in my switches that I'm tuning. To me, that just feels like an extra unnecessary step. But if you're the type of person that likes to maybe keep your, your keycaps in your GMK trays or whatever, so it's all displayed nice and perfectly, I feel like this is going to be the kind of product for those kind of people that like their switches and their keycaps, individually separated and, all on display. So I feel like in the same vein, this is going to be very similar for those kind of people. But what does chat think? I'm actually curious to know. Is this a little bit too meticulous for you guys, or is this like the real deal, the cat's pajamas, the bee's knees? I want to know what you guys think. All right, and while we're waiting for that, we're actually going to roll into our sponsor spot, as this was the last topic on our news doc. But of course, after the sponsor spot, we will end with a Q&A like we always do, so you can actually start asking those questions right now. You can use the @TopClack tag, and we'll get to them presently. But make sure you do use that tag, because it helps us a lot with the Q&A. If you don't tag us, your question might not get answered at all. So just keep that in mind, guys. Anyways, let's talk about our sponsors for just a moment. First up, the lovely, wonderful Novel Keys, who does have a few things going on right now. So he has the GMK White on Black extensions that are still going on right now. Very, very nice there. So that's the group buy for the set that we talked about last week. And this is pretty inexpensive and fits a lot of compatibility if you're looking for white on black extensions. He also still has the GMK RGB add-on kit if you're more of an RGB kind of fan. And if you're a Star Wars fan, he does still have the Star Wars GMK Boba Fett set in stock. So it is a little bit on the pricier side, I will admit, but it is officially licensed, like he says here. And if you're more of a collector versus someone that's going to actually put this set to intense use, this could totally be something for you. I know a lot of people have actually just bought it and not even opened it. It's just a collector's item. So I think there's definitely a lot of value in that. But if key sets maybe aren't your thing, he does still have in stock a lot of switches and a lot of other things like springs, lubes. You want an olive Stealth plushie, you want a Gator Ron, he's got you covered. They're absolutely delightful. They stay on my desk and pretty much haven't moved since I got them. So it's worth picking up stuff like that, if nothing more than for the fun. And of course, if you're buying anything in stock, make sure to use the promo code CLICKCLACK, one word, and that'll get you 5% off your entire order and let you know that you watch Top Clack.
Absolutely. Okay. Jumping over to our next sponsor of today, it is Kono.store. Now, they don't have any group buys live at the moment, but they do have a ton of sets that you can join as pre-orders. So for those of you who don't know, when Kono have done a group buy, they then offer the sets that they've bought as extras for pre-orders at group buy pricing or just above group buy pricing rather than extras pricing. So it gives you a little bit more time to join in on that and get a set shipped when the group buy actually does ship. So there's everything from Sharkbait to Ursa to Calm Depths to Nines. There's a ton of stuff on there. You guys can go take a look. If you have missed out on any key sets recently, there might be something that you want to join from that perspective. If switches are more your thing, then they do have some new versions of the Kale Pro and Speed switches in stock. Sorry, new stock of them, rather than new switches. They were identical to the old ones, but they have got all of those back in stock now, guys. So you can go ahead and you can buy those, and they're shipping immediately. So it's definitely well worth taking a look if those switches are on your radar. Speaking of keyboards, they do have the Hex Gears kind of range available as well, still shipping immediately. Really good starter keyboards to get someone into the mood for joining the hobby. You know, if someone's got a birthday or Christmas coming up, you know, it's a while off, but hey, you might want to buy something for Christmas already. Be prepared. You know, or if you just want to get someone into the community, there's all sorts of these kind of Hex Gears boards up there. So there's the Gemini, there's the X1, and there's Venture in stock, and they use these super low profile switches as well, and they're wireless mechanical keyboards as well. So really, really good. The other big thing to call out from Kono as well is that they are just about to move from one warehouse to another and one shipping company to another. So lots of changes coming up, but it should make them much more smoother and efficient going forwards.
Yep, looking forward to that. Next up, of course, we have KBDfans, who has a couple things going on right now. They still have the waitlist open for the Bella, which is that 75%. That's fairly reasonably priced, too. I think it's going to start around $300. And he also has... trying to load this page, sorry guys. The Tofu 96 is back, so if you were waiting on that last time, he does still have it available now, starting at $200. Not too bad. Don't really see 96 keys too often anymore, but there are still a lot of people out there that really like them. They do still have carrying cases available too, 60 and 65% for pretty low prices, all things considered. And if you've never been to KBDfans before, they have a ton of things on the site. Whether you're looking for key sets, inexpensive key sets, you know, ranging from all different colors and profiles and materials. So they have quite a range, lots of switches and other things too. They're one of the better one-stop shops in the community, if I do say so myself. And every now and then, if you take a look at this B stock market, you might find something really nice. Right here, doesn't look like there's anything available right now, but every now and then you can find a real winner in there. Let me tell you.
Yeah, absolutely. Jumping over now to the Keyset company. So one of our sponsors here, we've got a few different things. So it's the very last day right now that you can join GMK Luna, which is quite possibly my favorite space themed set. Even if I do say so myself, I've already bought that. So definitely take a look at that. They've also got the new C3 equals screw-in stabilizers. That group buy is open until April the 10th. But there's effectively a ton of different colors that you can join on this, and you can kind of mix and match and do some really cool things there with different colored stabilizers. Wires, different colored stabilizer housings, all of that kind of stuff as well. On top of that, there's a few things that are coming up too. So there's the Graen, as Ash keeps telling me to pronounce it, or Graen as most people pronounce it in English, which launches tomorrow. There's also upcoming GMK Black Lotus, which you can see there right at the top of Brian's screen a second ago, and a few other bits and pieces. And of course, we've already talked about the curative cherry profile ABS blanks that they have, but you can pick up a set of those for $24. We've mentioned them briefly earlier in the show. Easiest, cheapest way to try cherry profile out right now. So definitely take a look at those as well. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to mention as well is that Keyset Company have released something called Keyboard University. It's kind of low key at the moment, but they're building it up. The website's live now. I've put the link into chat. For some reason, it's not gone up as a link, but it is a link. So you can copy and paste that into your browser. I don't know why it's done that. But yeah, so that's a kind of like a starter out for people new to the hobby. It's kind of a good place to learn about all of the different things that make up a keyboard and all of that kind of stuff as well. So it's something big that they've been working on for a while, and we just wanted to share and shout out that resource is there if it interests you. So yeah.
Yeah, something like that could help a lot of people. Last but not least on our sponsors today, we have the wonderful Mekanisk, the Norwegian-based keyboard company. He's been around for quite a while and doing a lot of fantastic things, and still is, if you ask me. He just recently started the Klippa and Fjell pre-orders for the most recent run, and while the Fjell was only open for 24 hours, the Klippa still is available, and you can get it as low as $110 if you just want the polycarbonate version without a plate or a case. Gets down to $110. But the PCB, really good add-on there, and your choice of plate for only a few bucks as well. So they get $189 starting. You get a pretty nice kit. It's hard to not recommend that to new people. Of course, it does come in an aluminum version for only $10 more. And I'm actually using my my Klippa right now. This is a round one, but showing my Mekanisk love. I'm even using ISO, Jay. Look at this. Look at this ISO.
Oh, what?
Look at that.
ISO?
I'm using ISO right now. So
GMK Lime as well. Nice.
Yeah. Finally put that on a keyboard. Anyways, back to Mekanisk. Klippa pre-order is still open now. This is a great kit if you're new to the community. You're looking in to get something nice without breaking the bank. This is going to give you a high quality option. Of course, it has the removable posts in the middle now, so you can get a little bit more flexy and soft of a typing experience versus how tray mat used to be and pretty much only firm. He does have other things available too. So one of my favorite PCBs on the market right now, arguably one of the best PCBs on the market right now, is the WT60D, which is something that he stocks as well. That's what comes in the kit, but you can also buy one just by himself. $60, not the cheapest, but it is a very nice, high-quality PCB designed by Wilba, USB-C, QMK VIA support, flex slot cuts there, and look, it's so gorgeous, man. It just looks incredible. I've used one of these. It's fantastic. I have another one on deck. I'm going to use it for another build stream coming up very, very soon. And I'm pretty happy about that. So, yeah, make sure to buy one of those. And also, this has kind of been teased a little bit, but he has some new Durock stabilizers coming in the ultramarine colorway. So that ultramarine colorway that I've been fawning over on the tinned so far, and he just recently put out for the Fjell as well. But that ultramarine colorway coming to Durock stabilizers now very, very soon. So keep your eye open on that one because it's gonna be freaking awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely looking forward to those. Durock stabilizers are quite possibly my favorite on the market right now, so definitely.
Yeah, I was talking to people before the stream actually because I thought that people used to not really care for the Durock stabilizers, but it seems like it's kind of the default option for a lot of people now that Cherry stabilizers, or GMK stabilizers rather, are kind of on the fritz, and a lot of people aren't really liking the way they are now, and GMK is still kind of looking into how things are going, so we kind of needed an alternative, and it looks like Durock is, at least temporarily, that alternative.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely looking forward to seeing those. So yeah, I got some of the purple ones in quite recently that were on Novel Keys, and big fan of those. Having different colors, good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's get back to the Q&A here, and I actually want to scroll back just a little bit before that to see how people thought about that spring tray, since I asked about that.
I'm interested to see what people thought.
It's been a while since I've been this interested in the community opinion for a product that has, like, not that much significance. No disrespect intended.
Yeah, I don't know if I can go that far back in scrolling.
I can. So I'm just there now. Melodit says, this set is for the people who like to keep their food all separate on their plate. Okay. Whitseller says I'm in the same boat as Brian, so yeah, I mean, seems like an extra step potentially for him as well. Wencan says, I just saw this recently, kind of interested in it. Center says, seems like you can separate them before lubing, might be good. Sure. I think it does get a lot more benefit if you can actually use it as a lube station as well, because then you could just, you'd only have to transfer the springs once. When you get them into the lube station, then you can you just lube them right there. Then you can take them out one at a time, put them directly in your switches. That's a little bit more efficient. I can understand that. But to me, it didn't really look as much like a lube station. It looked kind of just more of like a case for your springs. But I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Certainly could be wrong.
If it's a lube station, then I definitely want to try it out. I'm going to try and 3D print one as well. So as soon as it's finished doing this, I'm going to download the files.
Can you print me one as well?
Of course I can. Yeah, not a problem. Yeah.
Thanks,
it will be in this. It'll be in this lovely coppery color filament because that's all I've got on hand at the moment.
That sounds delightful. I am okay with any of that.
It's a really nice filament. Yeah.
Zabuman says, "Okay, guys, gotta go. Good night. Thanks for tuning in, man. Always a pleasure to have you around."
Do you know what we missed? We didn't put new Nautilus Nightmares on the news doc, and that just launched today. On
Nautilus Nightmares?
Not Nautilus Nightmares, Nautilus Round 2.
Nautilus Round 2. Oh, crap. All right, we'll add it to the doc next week. I totally forgot. There was so many key sets this week. Yeah. But it was totally my fault for not adding them. That was strictly my bad, and I apologize for that. But, we'll add that on next week. It's still running next week, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll make a note to add it on the show next week. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Wow, I can't type. I have so much trouble typing on this ISO board, I gotta be honest with you.
Now you know how I feel when people tell me to just use ANSI, right?
Well, I mean, if I strictly swapped over to ISO and that's all I used, I could totally do it. It would just take me like a week to get used to it. But but using it, I just started using it literally last night, so just trying to get a little bit more used to it, honestly. But Sendrim says, honestly, a big meh. I'll just stick to bags and sorting springs. MF says, I would like to try one. So it seems like people are kind of split. Some people totally okay with that spring tray. Some people maybe don't see it.
I think that's how it's going to be.
That's fair.
Some people are going to see the use case for it, and some people aren't. It all depends on how you do your lubing as it exists today, and what your workflow looks like. For me, I think it'd be really useful, but for some people it might not.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone is different. All right, let's get on to some of the questions. Deedington says, no GMK Thai tea review. So we thought of having Thai tea on our news doc, but Pwade seems to have kind of confirmed that it was a joke, and it's only going to get ran if it gets enough interest. So, we were kind of put in a weird spot where we could cover it, and it would have been legit, but I think we could also not cover it, and it would have been fine, because worst case scenario, we will cover it when it goes to group buy, like we always do. So it's not like we're going to completely leave the set out high and dry to talk about, our opinions on it or anything. But with so many key sets on our doc already today, I wasn't really sure exactly if that was going to be a joke or not. I was kind of asking people about some things in the Discord today before the show, and it sounded like Pwade kind of confirmed it as a joke, which is fine. But again, we've also seen those jokes turn into actual sets, like with GMK Dots and GMK Hamon, just to name a couple. So
yeah,
Thai tea does look like it has potential to be a real set, and it does look like there could be a lot of interest for it, but we weren't sure yet.
To be fair, we actually you might have seen that the JO1 was used in Pwade's IC for it. He did reach out to me a few days before and ask if it was okay, and his wording was kind of what confirmed for me that it probably shouldn't be on the news doc. So verbatim split, he said, "Hey man, you don't care if I use these JO1 case files for a meme IC tomorrow, do you?" So that was kind of the one that said unless it really got the traction, it wasn't going to. So that's why it wasn't on there. If it does go to group buy and it gets a more formal interest check or group buy thread in the future, we will definitely
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's move on with some of these questions.
Because I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like it. I kind of think it looks alright.
It's certainly not a bad looking set. There's a lot of potential there, and when you think about it, how is Thai tea any more of a meme than boba? And look how well Taro does in our community. So, or Taro, however you pronounce it. I always get yelled at whenever I pronounce it. So
yeah,
whatever. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Taro did super well, and what's the difference really? Thai tea is not really that much different than bubble tea, so it's not a whole lot different at least. So I mean, it's not. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen sets based off of food that succeed heavily. Who knows?
Nope, absolutely not.
So we'll have to wait and see there. So if I offended Pwade, I'm sorry, but the show after April Fools is always my least favorite show of the year, strictly because it's really counterintuitive to how I gather information for the show. And if I'm like, hey, is this a joke? People are like, ha, you're stupid, for not knowing. And I'm like, I don't follow every click, because a lot of these are kind of click exclusive, and I only really pay attention to the top Clack Discord, because I don't really have time to look at a lot of the other Discords. I just honestly don't. So it's people get mad at me if I think something's a joke, and people think I'm stupid if I don't realize something's a joke. And if I ask, I'm like, hey, should I add this to the news doc? Because I don't really want to talk about things that are exclusively going to be a joke. If there is going to be a lot of high potential for it, and it is going to happen, then sure, we'll talk about it. It's a news topic at that point.
To be fair, Brian, we think you're stupid anyway, irrespective.
That's true. I
wouldn't worry about that. Yeah.
That's true. People already know that I'm small brain. That's fine. But yes, if your set, whether it was if your meme or joke set that you posted on April Fools wasn't covered today, I'm sorry. But that was kind of the way that we structured this, and sure, it might have not went perfectly, but we do the best we can with what we have.
Yeah, okay. Cypher Stage comes up with a question. He says, have you guys seen the Carefree 60? If so, what are your opinions on it? I hadn't seen it. I've just clicked on the link. It looks interesting. It's probably something that we will pick up and look at next week because we haven't covered it this week. But there wasn't a huge amount of information in the thread, to be honest, so there's not much for us to go
kind of assumed being posted on April 1st and being a 60% that omits backspace, I assumed that was a meme, and I intentionally did not add it.
Right. Okay. I mean, there was a lot of detail in how the plate's mounted and stuff.
Sure,
so no idea,
but
yeah.
like a backspaceless 60%. Like, does that scream seriousness to you?
No, but there's a lot of work gone into that plate. I don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, if the backspaceless 60% is real, we will cover it next week. Sure. Fair enough. Fair enough. This is exactly why I hate the episodes after this, because people will get mad at me for things that I don't put on the news doc. But, like, I don't know if I should be adding all the jokes to the news doc, and I don't know if this is a joke or not. To me, backspaceless 60% feels like a joke. To you guys, it might be completely viable. So, I don't know. Maybe you guys don't ever use backspace. Or you split backspace and you don't want those two keys instead.
We just never make mistakes, Brian.
That's fair enough. I live on mistakes. My backspace key is very well used. Trust me. I as someone that doesn't type properly. So I don't know. I don't know. If that wasn't a joke, I'm sorry. To me, it seemed like a joke.
Yeah. Depleted Vespine comes up with the next question. He said, which of this year's April Fool's jokes did you enjoy the most, besides GMKX, obviously? So the one I found the most fun was on the UK Discord server. The mods changed the icon, so it had the red circle with the number of a number of notifications. But of course, there were notifications. That got me twice in the same day. I fell for it in the morning, and then I clicked on it in the afternoon, and I fell for it again because it changed the number halfway through the day. It said there was 2 notifications in the morning, and then when I looked again in the afternoon, it said there were 6 notifications. And for me on Discord, that's not unusual to see that. So I had assumed that because the number changed, it was actually the real one. They got me twice in one day. That was probably the best April Fool joke that I fell for twice.
I gotta be honest, I haven't loved really much of any of them, but that's just because I'm kind of silly and I don't really like April Fool's Day. I just never really have. That's just me. It's just a personal preference. So, me just not really caring for it and then having to go through so many extra hoops to try to finish the news doc today was not fun for me. And the fact that like nobody would give me straight answers on a lot of the questions I was asking on whether things would be real was almost a little insulting. So it's no longer April Fool's. You don't have to joke with me. It's April 2nd now. It's not April Fool's anywhere else now. So like, be real with me. It was funny on April Fool's because that's what the day is for. But now we're on April 2nd. Don't joke with me about it anymore.
Did you not like mine and Petrov's head mod joke?
That was fine. The jokes that we did in the Discord, like that was fine because it doesn't negatively impact me.
Fair enough. Apart from when everyone asks you to fix it because I'm asleep.
Well, that's not a big deal. I just made the mods fix it. Except I had to change the mod color back. But that wasn't a big deal. That's fine. That was fun. It didn't negatively impact me. Whereas stuff like this can, because that's just how people view the community. So, yeah. Anyways, moving on from that, let's talk about our next question here. It looks like Langlandia is asking, would you rather never again be able to eat meat ever again, or never be able to eat vegetables ever again? I think that's a pretty that's an easy answer, right? An easy question. You can't.
I'd rather give up meat than vegetables.
Yeah, you can't exclusively live off meat, but you can exclusively live off vegetables, as far as I'm aware. But I'm not a I can't remember the name for that profession.
Personally, I wouldn't want to become a vegetarian, but hey, if I had to pick, I'd rather be a vegetarian than a meat eater only.
Yeah, Jeff, you're losing your composure, man. This is not your best work. I gotta admit.
Yeah, you usually ask really questions that make us think. That one's too easy to answer. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Anyways, Wilson with our next question here. Do you think that with the coronavirus situation that keysets / board designers should slow down on their group buy releases to lessen the community burden? If you didn't check, let me preface this by saying, if you go to our YouTube and you check out the stream we did, not last Saturday, but the Saturday before, I think it was at this point,
yes.
we did
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. So we did a kind of coronavirus special episode with a handful of the other content creators, designers, and vendors in the community, and we talked all about how coronavirus is impacting our community and how we kind of foresee our community in the future during and after all this coronavirus situation. So I would highly suggest, if you want to talk anything about that, you go watch that show, because there were a lot of thoughts and opinions shared there, a lot of facts shared there, and a lot of really good information overall. So if you're curious about how our community is kind of viewing the coronavirus situation and how we're all handling it, go look at that VOD, because it really was very, very informative and educational. With that said, the quick answer I would say is, like, right now, most vendors aren't really seeing very much difference. People are still investing money. People are still buying key sets. Sets are still running on time. But with that said, a month from now, 2 months from now, 3 months from now, that could look very different. So yeah. I think all of us are kind of in the same spot right now where we just don't really know what's happening.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add to that, other than the fact that go watch the other streams Brian mentioned, because there's a lot of different opinions, from Dixie, from myself, from Salvan, from Brian, from everyone else we had in that stream. It's a really good stream. But right now, it's not affecting things financially. And of course, a lot of these vendors that run these group buys, they use it for their daily income. That is their, a means of paying themselves a salary. So they don't really have a choice. It's either that or they don't earn any money. They furlough themselves and kind of go on hold, and that's not always possible. So it's not an easy one to answer, and there's no right or wrong thing for things to do. The other side of this is, which we talked about earlier on today, we talked about on that stream as well, is that there's going to be more and more interest checks, which is why we had so many topics today, because people are now sat at home and they've got more time to be able to do things like that, and they'll think, oh, there's that interest check that I was going to start 6 months ago that I never got around to. I've now got a bit of time to spend on it, so there's going to be more and more interest checks as well. So it's a difficult one to answer. I think it's very much a case of wait and see, but there's a lot more thoughts on it in the other one.
Yeah, definitely go watch that stream, though. I don't think you'll regret it. That stream was actually fantastic.
It was a really good stream. It was good fun as well.
It was fun, and we had some big names on there. A lot of people that are kind of quote unquote in the know. So we had a lot of hot takes and a lot of good information. All right, next question from Depleted Vespine is asking: a lot of people have started streaming on Twitch these days for well-known reasons. Have you seen any quote-unquote newbies that show promise? So yeah, a lot of people streaming on Twitch now. A lot of content creators being able to put out a lot more content now that they have spare time. Maybe they're isolated, quarantined, stuck at home, working from home, whatever. People just have more time to do keyboard stuff nowadays. For obvious reasons. So. Obviously, a lot of people have started keyboard streaming, and a lot of the, I don't mean this disrespectfully, but a lot of the lesser keyboard streamers, the keyboard streamers that maybe don't stream as often or, don't get very many viewers, are now starting to stream more often and get more viewers. So that's pretty cool as well. I think most of the keyboard streamers these days honestly do a pretty good job. In fact, I even made a joke about this on my build stream just the other day when I was building the Bower. I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, I'm like the worst keyboard streamer these days. Yeah, like I like me personally, like me, Quakeums, like I am the worst keyboard streamer these days. Like there's so many good ones now. Like obviously Teha Types is the big name. He's not really new because we all know him now. Nathan Kim, Teha Types. Gasp, I would still say is relatively new, but she's come up huge since she started. She has a big fan base now, and she gets a lot of viewers on her streams, and she's doing it full time now. And most people can't say that. So obviously she kind of came out of seemingly nowhere in the content creator space, and she just exploded. And now she's very popular, and she does good content, and that's great. And we have a lot of other keyboard streamers that maybe aren't as popular, but that do an amazing job. Alex Odos, super high quality streams, and very informative. And his presentation, his delivery is fantastic. He has a great knack for it. And a great voice for it as well. You have people like Plume Keyboards I've been watching more of lately. Yeah, Plume's really good. He does a great job. His quality maybe not quite as good, but he seems like a really nice guy, and he has a great presentation. Stash.
Yeah, I've been watching a few of his streams recently. He's doing really well. Another guy that's been around a little bit longer, I Am Me, You Are You. I really enjoy his streams. He's just such an easy guy to listen to. He's always really thoughtful in how he talks, has some really interesting anecdotes. So there's plenty of other choices out there.
Yeah. And I mean, Mr. Keebs has been streaming a while now, but now we're seeing Gonda Lindrum starting to do some streams. Heine Bush was doing a PCB design stream, and he had it labeled episode 1. which leads me to believe that Heine is going to be doing more design streams. And that is amazing, because I think by far that's like one of the top 3 things this community needs for everyone that isn't a designer to understand what designers go through and how they do their craft. Really important. And if you haven't watched Heine's stream on PCB design, I highly suggest it. The guy is wicked smart, and it's incredibly informative, and it really does go to show you, like, this stuff isn't always easy. So yeah, as far as there's more names too. There's so many streamers these days. We're getting close. We're not there yet, but we're getting close to the point where you can kind of get on Twitch at any point in time, and there's a keyboard streamer that's live. Whether they're building a keyboard or doing news or you're doing something else, playing games, whatever. There's a keyboard streamer from our community live, and that's a really cool thing that 2 years ago nobody would have thought that.
Yeah, I mean.
Like, yeah, of course.
Hell, when I started keyboard streaming, I think there was like 5 of us. That was it. There wasn't a huge number. There was Top Clack, there was Nathan Kim, there was the odd 1 or 2 streams from other people, and now it's just huge. It's crazy how many streamers we've got out there. It's crazy how it's grown, and the fact that at some point soon in the not too distant future I'm going to be able to get up at any time of the day working from home, put the TV on behind me with a keyboard streamer and just listen to them while they're doing stuff,
and that's a good feeling. That's a good feeling. It really is. All right, Talisman gifting another tier 1 sub. Thank you so much. Up to 245 now. He's going for it. He's getting there. He's getting there. Bearded Nut Inc., always one of my favorite usernames here, is asking, do you guys sometimes cannibalize your boards for parts, or have you kept every board you have built the way you built it?
No, absolutely cannibalize them. I will often, not necessarily for parts, but just because I'll be disappointed with the way something is, or it met my expectations when I first built it, and my tastes have changed, and now it doesn't meet my expectations anymore. The big example of that I can give is that a lot of the boards that I built in the early days, I liked to be tactile, and I'm very much moving to almost solely linears these days. So some of the boards I used to enjoy that were tactile, I've started to rebuild and turn them into linear boards. I built the Polaris last week, and I tried to put tactiles in that, and it just didn't work for me. So I'm going to have to, do a linear build in that. So that's going to be on the stream twice in 2 weeks, because that board is so good. I don't know if you got one, Brian, but if you didn't,
sadly, I couldn't afford it at the time, unfortunately. But hopefully in the coming months, maybe I can find an extra or something.
For the price, the board is exceptionally good.
Oh yeah, I mean, from the time that we saw the interest check, I already was saying on stream that it was potentially going to be board of the year.
Yeah, from a price perspective, literally the only problem I've got with the board is the fact that I don't like the sound. I'm using Azelios V2, which I usually like the sound of, but I don't think it works well with the foams. So I'm going to rebuild it with some good linear switches that I can have a bit more.
You had a half plate, correct?
Yeah, PC half plate, and I think that doesn't help because the gaskets are quite spongy as well. So I think that doesn't help with the linear. So I don't think it feels particularly good as well. But if I ignore the tactility and I just go by the board feel itself, by like holding the keys down and then pressing it, it feels really nice. So I think if I rebuild that with a good linear switch, I'm going to really, really enjoy that board. It's sat just behind me now because I want to like it more because the board itself is lovely. The color is great. The design is great. Everything's so good about it. I just need it to sound good now. So yeah, rebuild on Sunday.
Yeah. I don't think cannibalize is the right word, but obviously, people like us do rebuild keyboards a lot. That's definitely nothing new. All right. Let's see. Yak Bats with our next question, asking how crisp will the Graen Legends be? Actually, he says Green Legends. I'm assuming he's talking about green. I'm not actually sure.
Graen, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be reverse dice up, but it should be as crisp as any as the bread Legends. So you'll start to see those out in the next couple of weeks.
You got to realize the die subbing process just with PBT like incurs a certain level of fuzziness. So like usually a PBT die subset will never be as quote unquote crisp as like a double shot ABS set like GMK, for example. Because obviously when you're designing the molds, it's a lot easier to just get all those clean lines because then you just shoot from there. But with die sub, it's a little bit different, and I don't think I've ever seen like a die sub PBT set that was as crisp as GMK double shot, for example. So I think just having PBT die sub by default incurs a little bit of that graininess or fuzziness, depending on how you want to look at it. But with that said, it shouldn't really be too bad or any worse than the way the Infinikey sets have looked so far. In theory, they're always improving too. So
yeah, they're always improving.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I mean, Jay's gonna buy it, I'm gonna buy it, and then we'll be able to talk about it. So
yeah. As soon as I get them in my hand, I'll have them on stream anyway, because I'll be buying a personal set.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yep.
Okay, next question was from Heatless. He said, "Head mod was not a joke." It was a joke. I guarantee it was a joke. And then Toasty Farty comes up with a real question: is it called cookies or is it called biscuits? So in the UK, a biscuit is what you guys would generally call a cookie, unless it's not, in which case it is called a cookie. So there's no hard and fast rules. So for example, the biscuits or cookies I was eating at the beginning of the day, they are called cookies. They do have the cookies on the box.
Okay, I was actually about to ask if cookie was a recognized term in the UK.
It is, and generally the difference is how the biscuit's made. If it's a traditional British style biscuit, then it tends to be just called a biscuit. If it's something more like a chocolate chip cookie, that's the kind of traditional quintessential cookie, then we do call those cookies over here. Cookies tend to be thicker, and biscuits tend to have fillings and things like that with them as well. So it really depends in the UK. It's becoming more colloquially acceptable to call them cookies because that's kind of like common lexicon, common culture. Most TV shows are made in America, so that's kind of thing starting to come over here. But yeah, here if I asked my wife to pass me a biscuit and she passed me these, we wouldn't even bat an eyelid. She'd probably find it weird if I asked for a cookie. But yeah.
Fair enough. All right. Shout out to Switch Keys AU for subbing at tier 1 6 months in a row. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, thank you, Steph. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Heck yeah. And Camel Leopard is asking, do either of you happen to know if the Cat Space Cadet Hyper 7 kit's 2U top rows will mount properly to the Hyper 7 PCB?
Oh, okay, so I can answer this. So I ran the original Hyper 7 PCB group buy on Geek Hack a couple of years ago, round 1 and round 2. Round 1 and round 2, they had 1U switches, so just standard switches for each 2U keycaps. You'd have 2 switches for each 2U keycap. You can't do that on the CAT. Those kinds of keys are called POS or point of sale keys. Are designed for terminals in stores. They don't do them in cat profile with the 2 stems, so you have to have those as stabilized keys, which is the good news. So next week you'll probably see there will be the interest check in the group buy starting pretty soon afterwards for Hyper 7 round 3, and what that's going to do is that's going to introduce so you could have both options. So you could use the original SP key set and have 2 switches there, or alternatively you'll be able to have a single switch there and a stabilizer, which will work with both DSA Ferris, which ran a couple of years back, and also with Small Cadet with the Hyper 7 kit, which is probably the easiest way to get into it. So if you've got one of the original PCBs and you want to use Small Cadet, sadly you would have to buy one of the new PCBs and plates. If you want to use the original Hyper 7 PCB and plate, you will need to find one of the old sets, so either Ferris or the original SA profile run. I hope that's clear.
All right, fair enough. Quick shout out to Toasty Party, Toasty Farty, since he's on a different account now. Shout outs to him for subbing with Twitch Prime for 3 months. Appreciate that, my friend. As well as we missed it in chat, but a couple hours ago, Petrov did also donate 1,004 bits. So thank you so much, Mr. Petrov. Very, very much. Very appreciated. All right, let me try to catch up on some of these questions as well. Toasty also gifts a tier 1 sub, as does Socialite. So lots of love going around. Thank you so much, guys. That really does mean a lot to us. And Bearded Nut Inc. with a 100-bit donation as well. You guys are way too kind today. I greatly appreciate that, my friends. Very, very nice to see.
Bumblehead Brett says, thoughts on the Jules type test video? Not watched it, so I don't have any thoughts.
It seemed fine. I mean, so we did it with the Novel Keys cream switches, I think stock springs, presumably, and that's kind of what's in the starter kit for the Jules. So obviously, like we talked about earlier with the M50, Rama likes to release a starter kit with his boards that usually come with switches and or stabilizers. So you can kind of outfit your board a little bit more appropriately without having to worry about sourcing them from other sources. And it's a great idea. I don't always know what goes through Rama's head when he puts out like which switch, because sometimes they seem kind of strange and sometimes they seem like they make sense. So I don't really know. I think at the end of the day, it's totally fine what he does, and the typing test seemed fine. With that said, I don't like typing tests. I know a lot of people often ask me for them, and I used to do a lot of them. I don't really do so much anymore. Typing tests are just not a good way to learn about how a board sounds, because there's so many variables that get introduced, like, you know, what your desk is like, how many desk mats you're using, what kind of desk mat you're using, what lube you use, what switches you're using, what recording device you're listening to, what the other person's listening device is, like
how big your room is, you know.
Yeah, like,
all sorts of
exactly,
things.
like literally, yeah, what room are they typing in? Like, is there like dampening material on the walls? Like, is it like what's nearby? Like, what is sound vibrating off? Like, they're just bad. Typing tests are bad, and I get that people want them, and sure, in some semblance, it can tell you what a switch could sound like, what a board could sound like. But I think watching a typing test and being like, that board is going to sound bad or that board is going to sound good is the wrong way to go about it, because it'll always, 100% of the time, sound differently in person than it does through the video. I'm a firm believer in that. So I think it's fine to put out typing test videos, but I would take every single one of them with a monstrosity grain of salt. Yeah. And I mean, if you're just listening to them like for ASMR or like whatever, that's totally fine. Like, some people just listen to Teja types typing sounds, like, just as ASMR because its quality is really good. So, in that sense, I think it's fine. But I think anyone that, you know, tries to say that a board is going to sound good or bad based on a typing test doesn't entirely understand the context behind it.
The other thing as well is what sounds good is so subjective. What I think sounds good, you might not, and what Brian thinks sounds good, I might not. You know, it's so subjective. Like, we do agree generally to Brian and I on most things and most boards that sound good, but you know, it's so subjective. You know, I was talking about this on the Polaris build stream. Like, I feel if I build a standard board, I don't know, say I bought, I don't know, the J80, and if I didn't like that sound, I would try and rebuild the board with different switches or loop them in a different way and stuff like that. Some people put foam under there. I don't like to do that, but you know, people when I was talking about the Polaris build thread said, "Oh, you have to put the foams in because it's there," and that's great. But I wouldn't. I wanted to try it without the foam underneath as well, and I want to try it on different levels and try and get the sound to be right for me. It doesn't have to be right as compared to what everyone thinks. As long as you're happy with it and it's your board, then that's all you need to worry about.
Yeah. Good answer on that one. Wilson with another question here. What is the key set that you really want a rerun of? Interesting question. So I've spent about, I don't know, 15 seconds thinking about this since I saw it in chat, and I actually came up with one that I do believe in here. So I think GMK Minimal should be reran, because I think that's a set that is really beneficial to the community, and I don't know what it's going for on the aftermarket these days, but last time I checked, it was way more than I think it should be. I think the beauty of Minimal is the fact that it was a $100 base kit, and the fact that people are selling it for $300, $400, $500 on the aftermarket is a little weird. And I think that a set like Minimal should be way cheaper than $300, $400, $500, and it should be way more available. I get that, you know, there's not a ton of kits out there because, you know, some people slept on it. But I don't know. I think Minimal's a good set, and I think that a lot of people are into it, and I think that nobody wants to spend more than $100 on it, because that's, to me, that's part of the soul of that set.
Yeah, I mean, Camel Leopard mentions that Hennessy's running now as part of Mito's Belafonte stuff. It is, but it's got lowercase and modifier legends and text only.
It's not the same set, but you're not wrong. That is indeed an option.
Minimal should be in stock. Change my mind. I completely agree. Black on white and white on black.
Exactly. And even if it's not Minimal, even if it doesn't share the same kitting, even if it doesn't share the same text mods or, you know, centered icon legends or what, I don't remember. But even if it doesn't support that, like, even if it's just like quite literally an inverse of what drop does for white on black, I don't see why we can't just do that and stock it somewhere at $100 or $110 or even like $120. Like,
yeah, so it needs to be readily here. And he says, "Who's going to pay to keep that in stock?" To me, it's just one of those basic
drop
things
or Unikey.
I wouldn't even say that. It just Unikey.
Unikey.
GMK.
They should all be on Unikey with Q01. You should have a Space Cadet there potentially. You should have a Honeywell there. You should have black on white and white on black. That's if not anywhere else, definitely on Unikey, because they've already proven they can do it with Q01.
Yeah, I mean, hell, I'd like to keep it in stock if I could, but I think Unikey is the right place for it.
Yeah, obviously not every vendor could do that, but I do think Unikey could do it because obviously they are a division of GMK, and I think that Drop could have the monetary resources to keep it in stock. Let's be honest, they do. It's a multi-million-dollar company, so I don't think there's really a reason we can't have somewhere stocked black on white and white on black, regardless of how much it costs.
Yeah, I mean, Drop have almost done it with white on black, so black on white. Hey, we'd like to see. Stupak does mention that Bleached is coming soon as well. It is. So there's Hennessy, there's Bleached. There's also the
Bleach is a different color.
Enjoy.
Bleach is a different color.
It is, but it's still a white and black set.
Yep.
There's also the Enjoy set that we looked at earlier on, the CMYK set, which just had the white alphas. Again, it's slightly different colored modifiers because it's got the CMYK modifiers, but again, it's
to me because you can't make the entire set black on white. It's not a black on white set to me.
Sure, I get that. I'm just giving people options. That's
yeah, definitely. That is something to consider. But that was my answer. What about you? What do you want to see reran?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Honeywell, but I'd really, really like a PBT version. So maybe that's
interesting.
I have mentioned it to a few people, and it might be something that happens.
What about Cat? What about Cat Honeywell?
That's not what I've been talking about. I have been talking to some people about other.
Oh no, I'm not talking about I'm talking about like what if someone made Cat Honeywell.
Hell, I'd buy the crap out of that. I would buy 2 sets of it. I mean, I've lost count of how many GMK versions of the set I've got because as soon as one comes up, I generally just click buy and go and speak to the people who are selling it on Mech Market and try and buy it because I love Honeywell. It is my favorite set of all time. So yeah, I don't know.
Cool.
I'd probably like to. I'd like to see that as an in-stock set, though, so it doesn't really answer the question because I'd like to see it as an in-stock set. If I had to pick other sets that I really like, Royal Alpha is always my favourite. I'd like to see Royal Alpha run again without the green modifiers and just the white ones. So I know it had a round 2 and it ran with the green modifiers. I don't like those at all, but I love the Alphas and I love the white modifiers. That's why I put them on the Polaris last weekend. That's why that Keyset will stay on there. I would love to see that run again.
Yeah. Good answer. Sniper Bob is gifting a tier 1 sub as well, so thank you so much, man. Appreciate that.
Thank you, man. Yeah, and Deanington as well. He gifted a tier 1 sub as well, so thank you.
Oh, heck yeah. Thank you very much, guys. Very, very nice. All right,
Upas, I agree. Upas is just asking me which Honeywell I prefer, so it's kind of related to the last question. I agree, the RO2 Honeywell is the best one, but I tend not to use any of the reds. I like it as just the grey and the whites, but I agree that I don't like the current version that Oko's running. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, cool. Nathan Alphaman says, minimal should be in stock, change my mind. I agree. And I think that, I mean, I'm not going to pretend I know what Dixie Mech's finances are like, but if he could stock even a small amount of GMK minimal, it is stock colors, so you could stock just 150 units. I bet those would sell all within a day.
Yeah.
Even if you priced them at like $120 or $130 even, with the same base kit in stock, that would sell out in a day. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of capital he has on it, so I'm not going to pretend that I know. So.
Yeah, it's a lot. It is a lot of capital to do, and it's also a lot of storage space as well. 150 kits takes up a lot of space. Just like Gatoron's taking up a lot of space on your shoulder right now. It's the same kind of thing. Yeah, and there's the timelines as well. If Upas just mentioned, if you order it now, that it's 6-7 months until it gets produced, and you've got to put all of that money up front.
That's why I'm saying I don't know what Dixie Mech's finances are like, and that's what I'm getting at here. It may not be even remotely possible for Dixie Mech, and that would be fine. Maybe it is. Maybe it's possible for Drop. It sure should be. Maybe it's possible for Unikey. It sure should be.
Yeah, say for all intents and purposes, it's $100,000 or whatever it is. Let's use it as a round number. Yeah. You've then got that money tied up for 6 or 7 months until it comes in, and then when you sell it, you might make I don't know, say $130,000. So you make $30,000 profit or whatever it is. I don't know, but you've got to wait 7 months for that.
Yeah, this is why I'd prefer Unikey to just stock it themselves. Just it doesn't have to be minimal, obviously, because that's going to be like a Dixie Younglad thing, but just a black on white set. Just stock a basic black on white set. I don't understand why this is so hard. We've had the white on black set stocked for so long. Is it really that much harder to stock a white on black set or a black on white set versus a white on black set?
It's not, and I think it just comes down to, in this current climate of uncertain economic times, it's probably not the best time to do it. But going
I don't mean
forwards,
right now. I mean like a year ago when we started seeing white on black Stockton drop, or like 2 years ago or whatever, and it was like $100. It's like we can do that so easily apparently, but we can't do the other version. It's interesting to me.
Funnily enough, we did mention this when QO1 came out. I don't know if you remember this, Brian, but when QO1 came out and it was in stock on Unikey, we covered it on the show. We did mention at that time that it'd be interesting to see what sets they built up on that. And I think we both suggested that white on black and black on white and 9009 style sets, the OG color schemes, those would be the ones that would carry on.
Exactly.
And we haven't seen that yet. So maybe GMK have got a plan for it. Maybe they don't. Maybe another vendor will do it. Maybe they won't.
We'll have to wait and see. One thing is for certain, though, I will be having Andy of GMK on Behind the Keyboard, not tomorrow, but another day. And I do plan on grilling him for a lot of things like that. So it'll be interesting to see, what GMK's take is basically on a lot of these things, because GMK are doing a lot of things right now. They're making kind of a lot of changes, a lot of alterations, and it'd be nice to kind of catch up with that and see their reasoning and logic behind everything. And maybe we can get some jabs in there and wonder why Unikey isn't stocking some of the more basic sets.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely look forward to that, and we'll talk more about that then. Let's try to speed through a little bit more of this Q&A because we're starting to rack up the time pretty quick here. Sean Francis Ryan Esquire, I'm assuming is what that is, which is fantastic, says, got some silent alpacas and want to lube them. Do you have any advice for which lube to use / the benefits of using different ones? Actually, if you go to topclack.com, I actually have a lube guide there, and I more than just a lube guide, I kind of go through the theory of like why people lube and like what kind of benefits you might see from it, as well as different types of lube and why you might use one of those. So instead of elaborating on it here, because that could take a while, it's something I could literally talk about for hours, is like lubing theory. It's something I'm really passionate about. But regardless, go to the website, go to TextClack, or just go to topclack.com, type in the search bar, lube guide or whatever, and the Switch lube guide should come up, as well as the stabilizer lube guide. The Switch lube guide is actually slightly out of date from the way I do things now, but I will update that soon. And as far as like the Switch theory goes and what lubes to use and stuff, all of that is still very current. So just check that out on the site.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Let's see. Zach Araya is asking, have you guys mentioned E7 keyboard yet? I don't think so. E7. I don't know if I've heard of that one.
Is that the
No, that's the S7.
Oh, that's the S7. Yeah. Okay.
Is it what board from exclusive? He usually starts with E's, right? E6, V2, E8.5, E6.5, E7.5 or whatever.
Oh, the 7V. Oh, it means 7V. Okay.
Oh, the 7V. Okay. We mentioned it when it came up in interest check. Has the group buy started yet?
I don't think so. I haven't seen it. I think it's due to go into group buy soon, but when it does, we'll cover it on the show.
Yeah, exactly. Once the group buys actually go live, that's when we cover them on the show. We usually don't cover group buys before that, but we cover interest checks. So the idea is we try to never cover one topic more than twice. So we'll talk about an interest check, then once it goes to group buy, we'll talk about it and the changes between the two. And we try not to talk about it any more than that because it gets a little repetitive at that point. Anyways, just catching up here. Oh, you already answered the Honeywell question. Okay, so that is it, actually. That is the end of our Q&A. And a timely one at that, because we're coming up on the 3-hour mark. And we'd like to not do that too often these days on this show. So...
we said it'd be 2.5 hours max before the show.
I know, 2.5 hour. Well, technically, we're still in the 2.5 hour hard limit because 15 minutes of that time that OBS claims is actually just a starting soon screen. So we're at just over 2.5 hours right now, I guess. So we're just on that edge, but we're heading out now. So guys, thank you all so much for watching this stream. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as much as we did. We do have a lot of streams upcoming, and we're going to keep that theme going for a while. For the foreseeable future. Tomorrow, I do have an episode of Behind the Keyboard scheduled. I have a guest scheduled. I have a guest confirmed. It's going to be a really good time. He's a great guy, and it's going to be a really educational experience for us all, hopefully. So if you like interviews, the one I did last week with Teo Types, Nathan Kim, went super well. A lot of people really enjoyed it. A lot of people watched it, and I'm really happy about that. It wasn't structured quite as well as I was hoping for, but that's just a mistake on my part. I'm going to try to improve on that going forward. I do want to keep some of the casual feel because that's what a lot of the Top Clack viewers expect, but I do want it to be a little bit more of a professional feel as well, a little bit more of a structured interview, which it is. And I think the pilot episode went pretty well, but not perfect, and I'm hoping to only improve on that. So come join me tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific time, and we're going to talk about some keyboards with a pretty amazing guest that I think a lot of you are going to be really happy about. So look forward to that as well.
Cool.
What about you, Jay?
In terms of other streams, I do have the Polaris rebuild stream on Sunday, which I'll be doing, and I will be randomly ad hoc doing the Lego Batmobile build streams as well. That thing's going to take me ages to do, so the streams aren't going to be planned. They're just going to happen when they happen.
Didn't you say there was like 27 bags in that kit?
Yeah, 27 bags in the kit.
Unbelievable.
And I'm at step 116, and I'm only on I'm not even a quarter of the way through the book. I've done 3 bags and I'm on step 116, so that is going to be huge. Now the rest of the Lego is going to happen. I'm not going to plan those. Whenever I can do those Lego build streams, I will do. We will finish the Batmobile off on stream. You guys will get to see if you want to, but it is going to take some time. Polaris build stream on Sunday, and then I've got some other keyboard stuff coming up. As I mentioned earlier on, I have got the Lodestone Proto Maglev for the win. We're going to get this built soon as well, so that'll feature hopefully a week on Sunday if the plates come in time. But I'm really excited to build that. Really excited to try that out and share that with you guys. So yeah, and of course, all of the streams going forward, apart from the main show, we will be giving away game codes and stuff like that. Brian and I've got a huge list, so we're going to be trying to keep you guys entertained, give away some game codes, some Steam gift cards. We've given away some vendor gift cards as well, all that kind of stuff, just to keep you guys entertained. So those are not going to stop. I was trying to quickly add up a second ago, which is why I was looking away while Brian was talking, how much we've actually given away in terms of cost of prizes. I think it's over like $700 already just in games, which is absolutely crazy. It's mental. And we're still not even halfway through the list yet.
Yeah,
so
shout out to all the people that have been donating game codes to us to give away on our build streams and such, because that is huge. The idea, Fropsy, Cyber Sam and his son, Young Geo, Nathan Alphaman. The list goes on and on. There's more. We'll try to, we try to credit them as often as we can. But yeah, to all the people that have just been donating game codes to give away, it's been fantastic. We're really trying to encourage people to stay at home to try to limit the spread of the virus. And we know a lot of you people may be out of work, so you don't have a lot of money, so you might not be able to be buying new games like Doom Eternal. So that's where we come in, and we're trying to hook you guys up with some cool games that you guys can actually put to use while you're quarantined in your home and maybe not making quite as much money. So yeah, shout out to all the people that have been donating game codes for that. That's been fantastic. And like Jay mentioned, we are going to continue to do that. I have numerous build streams lined up. I have the IDB 60, I have the Southpaw full size, I have an LZ Iron rebuild that I have to work on. The Mekanisk Type X just got in recently. I got to decide on what switches I want to put on that, if I want to use a plate or not. Lots of things coming up, guys. So we have no shortage of content. And of course, again, tomorrow, the second episode, of Behind the Keyboard. You won't want to miss it. It's going to be a really good time. And April 10th, over on Man of Interest Twitch channel, you can watch us, Top Clack, Mean Jay, take on the boys over at Mechs on Deck, Chewy and Osiris, really in Jeopardy, in keyboard Jeopardy, guys. So that's going to be absolutely fantastic, and I'm really looking forward to that. Jay and I are going to absolutely crush the Mechs on Deck guys because, obviously, why not? So it's going to be fantastic. And in all seriousness, it's going to be a very fun episode, very friendly episode, and I don't think you're going to want to miss it. It's going to be a fantastic time. So make sure you guys are subscribed to Man of Interest's Twitch channel. It'll also be on his YouTube as well, as I assume. Mechs on Deck talking smack in chat says you're going down. I don't know. What do you guys think? I want to know what Twitch chat thinks right now. Who do you guys think is going to win in a keyboard Jeopardy show? Top Clack or Mechs on Deck?
Yeah, I mean, our side's let down by having you in it, Brian. That's the problem we've got.
Well,
there.
Clearly Jay is the hard carry, and I am the weight around his ankle. But despite that, who do you think is going to win, guys? Let's be honest. This is a biased opinion? No. You can ask who you think you're going to win on your streams. Come on. Jay's going to win. So apparently, from what it sounds like, the way Huey described it is each player is going to be judged individually, but you're also judged as teams. So you can see how each individual did at the end. But overall, it's a team versus team event. I think you're going to be surprised with some of my knowledge, Jay. I don't think you realize how much I actually know in this community. I think you underestimate me, Jay. I really do. But
it's all in jest.
No, it's not. You're mean. All right, just kidding. But seriously, guys, it's going to be fantastic. Win or lose, I don't think you're going to want to miss it. Honestly, it's going to be some fantastic content. I'm always a fan of game shows, and I think doing keyboard game shows is going to be exciting as well. Regardless, that is going to be it for us today. Any closing thoughts, Jay?
No, just come and check out the streams behind the keyboard, the build streams. We've got the Lego streams coming, lots of content. Reach out on the Discord. Stay home, folks. Don't be going out. Follow all of the rules in your area wherever you are to keep safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. And yeah, just come and chill out with us anytime. Keep it safe, guys.
Yeah. So thank you guys again all so much for watching. We had a great time, and we hope you did as well. If you look below the stream, you're going to find links to a lot of our other outlets, including our YouTube channel, where all the VODs are posted, as well as other content. So make sure you can always catch those there. You can also join our official Discord, which is linked below. You can come hang out with us there. You can talk about Salvadoran food. We were just talking about that's what we were talking about the other day. Or keyboards. Of course, we have lots of keyboard channels there as well, but always something for everyone there. So come join out, have a good time. It's going to be great, and look forward to tomorrow's episode of Behind the Keyboard, guys. Have a fantastic rest of your day or night.
See you later, guys.